The light shone upon the earth. All the people of the ninja world were enveloped in the light of the infinite Tsukuyomi, a light that penetrated through buildings, leaving no place to hide. Everyone illuminated by the light of the infinite Tsukuyomi, without exception, raised their heads instantly, their eyes slowly transforming into Rinnegan. Their consciousness was also instantaneously drawn into the dream of the infinite Tsukuyomi. This is the terrifying power of the infinite Tsukuyomi. Anyone shrouded in this light cannot escape its judgment. Only those with the Rinnegan and Susanoo can resist the light of the infinite Tsukuyomi. Uchiha Sasuke once again activated his perfect Susanoo, spreading its wings to shield many people present under its protection. Naturally, the most important person was Uzumaki Naruto. Time-space ninjutsu users, stay behind. Tabarama, standing within Sasuke's Susanoo, spoke in a deep voice. All other jutsu users must enter the infinite Tsukuyomi, gather their chakra on Uchiha Madara, and ensure that this guy can defeat Akihara Kagura. If the chakra is insufficient, this plan they meticulously prepared might fail, and if it fails, there will be no chance for a comeback. We should also keep some medical ninjas here, right? Hade Kakashi gently reminded. Although medical ninjas might not be very effective, since Akihara Kagura could kill them with a single blow, Kakashi and his group were accustomed to having medical ninjas as a backup. In the end, 2 medical ninjas were left behind, Tsunade and Haruno Sakura, because they excelled in medical ninjutsu. Of course, Orochimaru was also left behind, because Orochimaru had a sharp mind. Then I will go out first. Hashirama strode out, standing on the sea, looking up at the light shining down from the sky, his eyes instantly transforming into Rinnegan. Hashirama, gazing at the figure in the moonlight, murmured slowly, "Madara, take my chakra and fight." With the first Hokage leading the way, others followed suit, Jiraiya striding behind Hashirama. Ninjas from other villages also stepped out from under the wings of Susanoo, leaving only those crucial to the battle below. Tabarama, a user of Flying Thunder God. Hade Kakashi, a user of Flying Thunder God and Kamui Sharingan. Tsunade and Haruno Sakura, medical ninjas, and the most important person, Uzumaki Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke didn't care much about others. He only cared about Uzumaki Naruto, who, like him, had been granted power by the Sage of Six Paths. HMPH, as long as Naruto and I survive, it doesn't matter what happens to the others. The 2 of them must prepare for the possible resurrection of Kaguya. Of course, there was also the most crucial point. Uchiha Sasuke, touching his eyes, whispered, "And Uchiha Madara and I can also dispel the infinite Tsukuyomi with our Rinnegan." "Sasuke!" Uchiha Itachi's voice appeared beside Uchiha Sasuke's ear. To Sasuke's surprise, his brother Uchiha Itachi had also survived within the infinite Tsukuyomi. It was ineffective against those brought back by the Edo Tensei. Now is not the time to reminisce. Ignoring Itachi, Sasuke said solemnly, "Let's deal with the crisis that threatens the ninja world first. I know you can't escape Akihara Kagura's control right now, so stay put and don't get close to anyone." After all, the memory of Itachi piercing his chest was still fresh in Sasuke's mind. He did not want to be stabbed by his brother again, especially not at a critical moment like this, even if he could bear it. The ninja world could not withstand such a shock. Uchiha Itachi, with an outstretched hand, stood rigidly in place. When he had been controlled by Akihara Kagura and killed Sasuke, he had wished to sacrifice his soul to bring Sasuke back. Now, his little brother despised and feared him. This was what he had foreseen on the night of the clan massacre, yet now, in this moment, he felt an immense pain. Why had everything turned out this way? All right, he is still your brother. Tabarama, having no objections to Itachi's actions, spoke in a deep voice. "The priority is to deal with the evil Uchiha, Akihara Kagura. Everything happening now is his fault." Tabarama sighed inwardly. If Akihara Kagura had not insisted on saving some of the Uchiha and instead allowed Itachi to completely eradicate them, Sasuke wouldn't have had to face those still alive from the root. Of course, this thought was too extreme. Because those Uchiha in the root were also beneficial to Konoha. In terms of dealing with the Uchiha in Konoha, Akihara Kagura had handled it better than Danzo, Hiruzen, and Uchiha Itachi combined. Unfortunately, all of that was in the past. Those Uchiha had also defected with Akihara Kagura. Tabarama had no time to ponder these matters as the light of the infinite Tsukuyomi had ended, and he saw Uchiha Madara descending from the sky, continuing to orchestrate the final battle. In the sky, a red steam dragon suddenly charged at Uchiha Madara. Akihara Kagura's figure rushed towards Madara, seemingly intent on killing him before he could absorb the chakra upon landing. "Something's wrong, save him quickly." Tabarama's expression changed dramatically. "No need to worry." Uchiha Sasuke lifted his gaze, and the Ameno Kikara technique instantly activated. In a flash, his body swapped places with Uchiha Madara's, and he appeared in front of Akihara Kagura, directly facing Kagura's attack. As for Uchiha Madara, the moment he landed, he began manipulating the pre-arranged vines. The God Tree Realm Descends technique he had used earlier to force Kagura to stay in the battle came into play. Now I will start absorbing chakra. Madara clasped his hands together and said solemnly, "For the next period, we must not let that brat interfere with me." Understood. Uzumaki Naruto's figure immediately flew into the sky. The vines throughout the entire ninja world came alive in an instant, moving rapidly. Small branches from the vines swiftly bound all those caught in the infinite Tsukiyomi, suspending them like mummies. Huge waves surged across the ocean. Numerous chakras rushed from the vines toward Madara's body at an incredible speed. Some chakras even traveled impatiently from beneath the planet, crossing the ocean to merge with Madara's body. With the infusion of chakra, Madara's body immediately began to swell, and a look of pain flashed across his face. "How long will it take to complete?" Tobirama demanded an answer from Madara. Tobirama had witnessed Kagura's powerful attack, shattering Sasuke's Susanoo and sending Naruto flying with a single punch, displaying overwhelming dominance. Madara couldn't respond, his expression becoming increasingly pained. Even though he had reached the level of the Sage of the Six Paths, he still struggled to accommodate the massive influx of chakra, feeling his veins continuously expand. "We have to join the fight too." Ade Kakashi watched as his two students were no match for Kagura, and he rushed into the battlefield. As long as Kagura didn't use his Rinnegan techniques, Kakashi's Kamui could still be useful. Tobirama, feeling helpless, swiftly appeared beside Naruto using the Flying Thunder God technique, rescuing him from Kagura's attack. At this moment, he had no choice but to fight. However, even with Tobirama and Kakashi joining forces, they couldn't stop Kagura, who relentlessly overpowered them. Even without using his space-time techniques, Kagura's speed in his 8 gates released formation was too incredible for Kakashi's Kamui Sharingan to keep up. Boom! Kagura landed a punch on Sasuke. A cut instantly appeared on Sasuke's face, and the air pressure from the punch immobilized him. The ocean waves surged violently from the impact. Kagura's body transformed into a red dragon, and he kicked Sasuke's chest, forcing Sasuke to escape using his space-time technique. At this moment, everyone realized the advantage of space-time techniques. At least, it allowed them to evade Kagura's attacks temporarily. Kagura's speed in the 8 gates released formation was too astonishing. Only space-time techniques could dodge in time. The battle in the sky continued. Kagura alone fought against Sasuke, Naruto, Tobirama, and Kakashi, making them look utterly disheveled. Even a slight mistake could result in severe injury or death, making this battle more dangerous than any they had faced before. Its limitless Yomi time has 6 minutes left. Tobirama, always prepared to reposition with Naruto, continued to strategize. "If we can endure for 6 minutes, we will have a 3-second window to counterattack." "It doesn't feel reassuring at all." Kakashi's forehead was sweating with fear. "Don't give up, Kakashi-sensei!" Naruto raised his hand and shouted, "At least we still have a chance to defeat Kagura. As long as Madara gathers all the chakra from the ninja world." While evading Kagura's attacks, Sasuke glanced at Madara absorbing chakra and said in a low voice, "At that time, Madara will have the power to contend with Kagura." At that moment, Madara's power would be enough to handle Kagura, enough to outlast Kagura's limitless Yomi time, giving them a 3-second window to secure victory. Thinking about it, it seemed absurd. Despite having such immense power, now we can't even secure a 3-second chance. Sasuke took a deep breath, raising his hand to manipulate Susanoo, firing giant arrows at Kagura, who effortlessly kicked them apart. Even if the giant arrows hit Kagura, it wouldn't matter. The limitless Yomi made him invincible for 10 minutes. By the way, Kagura suddenly stopped in mid-air, his red hair flaring upward, and his voice turned playful. "Aren't you curious about something?" "What?" Sasuke frowned. When Sasuke saw Kagura halt his attack, he almost felt relieved, but then remembered Kagura's cunning nature. This guy couldn't be planning something sinister, could he? "Aren't you curious?" Kagura glanced at Madara below and spoke with interest. "Why, I've never wholeheartedly stopped anything, be it the infinite Tsukiyomi or Madara absorbing chakra." "There's a plot." Sasuke suddenly realized something, his voice rising in agitation, shouting, "Everyone stay alert. Madara, stop absorbing chakra immediately. Don't make a fuss." Kagura chuckled, seemingly amused by Sasuke's skittishness. "You're always afraid I have a plot. What plot could I have now? No need to worry. Gentlemen, you can celebrate a little." Kagura's red hair gradually faded, and to show he had no more hostility, he deactivated his 8 gates released formation. "Celebrate a bit, my hostility towards you ends here." After all, Kagura spread his hands, a mysterious smile on his lips. Nothing unexpected happened, the battle doesn't need to continue, and I no longer need to be in charge. What do you mean? Naruto, somewhat puzzled, looked curiously at Kagura. Is Kagura finally abandoning his plan to destroy the ninja world? No, Kaguya is about to be resurrected. Uchiha Sasuke immediately thought of something, his gaze fixed intently on Uchiha Madara, who was swelling as he absorbed chakra from the sea. Kaguya? Could she have been resurrected in a way unknown to them? Madara, stop absorbing the chakra immediately. Uchiha Sasuke couldn't understand, but he urgently shouted, "This is a scheme by Akihara Kagura to revive Kaguya." What? There was still a trace of pain in Uchiha Madara's expression. At present, Uchiha Madara was struggling to handle the surging chakra within his body. Fortunately, he had the immortal body of the Sage of Six Paths. Otherwise, any other ninja would have exploded and died by now. However, what did that little fellow Sasuke say? That his chakra absorption was Akihara Kagura's scheme? But even if he wanted to stop, it was too late. Madara could only feel the pain in his body. Had to first integrate the immense chakra flooding into him, which was proving very difficult to handle. Let us anticipate. Akihara Kagura spread his palms and slowly closed his eyes, as if waiting for a sacred moment, the grand figure about to make an appearance. This tedious battle. Akihara Kagura's eyes suddenly opened, a red light flashing within them. It's merely a prelude to the real show. I've prepared the sacrifice. It's time for her to appear, isn't it, Black Zetsu? That name, in an instant, it sent a shiver down everyone's spine. Madara, isn't absorbing chakra that doesn't belong to you quite taxing? As Akihara Kagura declared this, a familiar voice appeared beside Uchiha Madara, a voice he had countless times gritted his teeth in hatred over. "Let me help you then, Madara." A figure as black as ink emerged from the sea, looking at the immobilized Madara, then directly pierced Madara's heart with its hand. The faces of everyone on the battlefield showed a trace of panic. However, those closest, Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Haruno Sakura, only reacted then, attempting to stop Black Zetsu, but it was too late. Black Zetsu had already taken control of Madara's body. Madara's hair suddenly grew, wrapping around the three of them, immobilizing them completely. What an unexpected turn! Black Zetsu's mouth curved into a sinister smile. Even it couldn't believe the plan had come this far. I always thought the plan would fail. Madara would never help me revive Kaguya. Yet step by step, it all worked out. Whether it was Madara's separation from it or Madara seizing the 10 tails, Black Zetsu felt the chances of Kaguya's resurrection growing dimmer. Through a series of unforeseen events, or perhaps under the pressure of Akihara Kagura's power, Madara became the 10 Tails Jinchuriki and initiated the infinite Tsukuyomi, absorbing the chakra of the ninja world, allowing Black Zetsu's plan to continue. Such a thing, it's almost absurd to think about. Akihara Kagura always liked to say that the process was unimportant, the result was all that mattered. If the final result was satisfactory, then it was acceptable. Black Zetsu! Madara stared at Black Zetsu, his body immobile, watching helplessly as his body turned pitch black. What a pity! Black Zetsu sneered, not saying more. Originally, it intended to use the stronger Akihara Kagura as the vessel to revive Kaguya Otsutsuki, but in the end it fell to Madara. Though Mother cannot be resurrected in the perfect body, Black Zetsu's and Madara's bodies fused more quickly, its eyes becoming gentler. As long as she can be revived, it will be perfect enough. Tabarama instantly appeared beside Madara, swinging his kunai to kill Madara in one blow. At the same time, Sasuke also attacked with his ninja blade. Madara is the sacrifice for Kaguya's resurrection, the vessel for her revival. If we kill him, Kaguya cannot come back. However, Madara's hair was extremely powerful. Black Zetsu controlled Madara's rapidly growing hair, flinging them away. Don't waste your time. The resurrection process cannot be stopped. Black Zetsu sneered as it transformed into liquid, slowly merging with Madara's body. Once the technique to revive Kaguya is activated, with the 10 tails, massive chakra, and my coordinates, Mother's resurrection cannot be halted. As Black Zetsu acted, more chakra emerged from the ocean, forcibly entering Madara's body, causing bulging masses to appear on Madara's body. Those were chakra swellings. Kamui! Hatake Kakashi suddenly activated his Kamui, only to find, to his horror, that it failed. Do not interrupt! Akihara Kagura sealed Kakashi's Kamui with a time-space technique, watching the scene before him with great interest. I warned Madara not to touch what doesn't belong to him, but he seemed to disregard my advice. Everyone present didn't know how to respond. Even if Madara heeded Kagura's warning, what could he do? Could he just watch Akihara Kagura gather the 10 tails and destroy the ninja world? You guessed I would revive Kaguya in this manner, Kagura. Black Zetsu's gaze fell on Kagura, contemplating his every move. You foresaw the 10 Tails Jinchuriki becoming the vessel for Kaguya's resurrection. Black Zetsu, I gleaned quite a bit from the Sage of Six Paths legacy, so knowing some peculiar things isn't surprising. Kagura's figure drifted to the sea, where the water transformed into a massive chair under his control, freezing into ice from his ice release. Kagura sat on the icy chair, his arm on the armrest, hand supporting his chin with even a hint of a smile in his eyes. Why worry about the process? As long as our results are favorable, that's enough, right? Heh heh heh, you are right, Black Zetsu sneered, nodding slowly. This partner turned out to be the longest-lasting of all its allies. To avoid becoming the vessel for Kaguya's resurrection, he had been using his immense power to force Uchiha Madara onto a path that was always a trap, a road to death. It does not matter much. Madara! Black Zetsu, seeing Uchiha Madara's consciousness weakening, smiled and said, This fate was always meant for you. Everything is just returning to its origin, to the destiny I originally arranged for you. Black Zetsu! A flash of extreme hatred crossed Uchiha Madara's eyes. However, he could not resist the invasion of another will because he could feel another powerful will about to awaken soon. Akihara Kagura! Uchiha Madara glanced one last time at Akihara Kagura and left his final words. You little brat, cannot imagine the power of that being. You will not escape either. Do not worry. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, and a vine suddenly emerged, directly binding Hate Kakashi. His gaze was somewhat gentle and calm. Soon I will know just how powerful that being is. Hate Kakashi glanced at the vine on his body. All right, knowing is one thing. Why did he have to be bound with limited time imprisonment and a vine together? Hashirama! More and more of Uchiha Madara's body was covered by Black Zetsu. His eyes were almost disappearing, and at this moment he thought of his old friend Hashirama. Because when Uchiha Madara cast Infinite Tsukiyomi, he saw Senju Hashirama step forward wanting to entrust his chakra to him. But he couldn't achieve it. Sorry, Hashirama! Black liquid chakra gradually appeared on Uchiha Madara's face, his consciousness slowly sinking, and the last image his eyes and brain registered was Tabarama charging at him full of killing intent. HMPH! This insidious and despicable man. He surely wants to take this opportunity to kill me too. Uchiha Madara knew Tabarama very well. Because Tabarama's intention was indeed to kill him, his hands formed seals quickly, and he spat a high-pressure water jet at Uchiha Madara's body. Water release, water-severing wave. But the high-pressure water release, capable of cutting through stones and mountains, was useless. Uchiha Madara's body turned completely into a pitch-black sphere, with only a head of white hair floating in the air. The black sphere shrank rapidly. The black sphere is shrinking. Haruno Sakura's body was flung away by the hair, but the chakra is getting stronger. Sweat droplets appeared on Tsunede's forehead. The next moment, the black sphere transformed completely. The black sphere quickly turned into a woman with closed eyes. Her skin was somewhat pale, excessively so like all Jinchuriki of the 10 Tails. Her hair was even longer than her body. The woman had a pair of horns on her head, and her forehead slowly cracked open, revealing a blood-red Rin Sharingan which did not mar her beautiful face. A long robe with black Magatama patterns draped over her body, extending past her feet, making her look extraordinarily sacred and majestic. The woman was not standing on the ground. She was floating in the air like a deity, or perhaps she was indeed a true deity. This is... Uchiha Sasuke's heart trembled with fear, sensing the terrifying level of her chakra, the Sage of Six Paths mentioned. Otsutsuki, Kaguya, Uzumaki Naruto gritted his teeth. Ninjas, pray now. Black Zetsu's voice emerged from the sleeve of this fair and beautiful woman, rising in pitch. Pray to the resurrected ancestor of chakra. Pray to the true ruler of this world. Offer your chakra to celebrate the reappearance of the rabbit goddess. After saying this, Black Zetsu's voice suddenly lowered, becoming eerie and filled with a chilling intent to kill. Then die, descendants of the traitors! Black Zetsu, you seem to be quite arrogant. Akihara Kagura tilted his head, resting it on his left hand, and looked at the Otsutsuki Kaguya in the sky, sighing long. But I can understand your arrogance, because this chakra indeed instills fear. Otsutsuki Kaguya abruptly opened her eyes. All the ninjas present couldn't help but feel uneasy about those eyes. Those eyes, they were just Byakugan. Yet the pressure they felt was greater than from the Rinnegan. Is that Byakugan? Tsunade couldn't believe that those were merely Byakugan. Otsutsuki Kaguya's gaze slowly descended, directly ignoring everyone present, and her eyes landed on Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto. Her body, trailing long hair, floated towards them. Everyone present dared not move, because no one knew what the rabbit goddess intended to do, and they did not dare to provoke her before seeing her actions, fearing her wrath. But A strange sound suddenly arose. Crack, crack, crack. The sound was like someone eating something. Why does it sound like choji? Uzumaki Naruto instinctively thought of his good friend. Probably only his thick-skinned friend Akimichi Choji would eat at a time like this. But Akimichi Choji wasn't here. Everyone couldn't help but look in the direction of the sound. Even Otsutsuki Kaguya couldn't help but look over, seeing a young man sitting on an icy chair, leisurely biting into a fruit, a blood-red fruit. Everyone present was at a loss for what to do. After the terrifying rabbit goddess Kaguya Otsutsuki was resurrected, the ninjas on the scene were all intimidated by her aura. Why was Akihara Kagiura unfazed? This guy. How could he still be eating fruit at a time like this? That is a chakra fruit, Kaguya Otsutsuki murmured, uttering the name of the blood-red fruit. The resurrected rabbit goddess's eyes suddenly turned cold, and a shadow flickered across her otherwise emotionless face. She was the only one in the ninja world who had ever seen a chakra fruit. For 1,000 years, only one chakra fruit had ever appeared in the ninja world, and she had already consumed it, becoming the progenitor of chakra in the ninja world. In 1,000 years, the only god tree capable of bearing chakra fruit had already split into the 9-tailed beasts and the Jido statue. How could there be another chakra fruit? Is that really a chakra fruit? Black Zetsu, hidden in Kaguya Otsutsuki's sleeve, stared at Akihara Kagiura in shock, its mind going blank. Wait! How could there be a chakra fruit in the ninja world when the god tree has already turned into the Jido statue? What is a chakra fruit? Haruno Sakura asked reflexively. A chakra fruit? Black Zetsu's voice was eerie and hoarse, even somewhat heavy. It is the fruit borne by the god tree after absorbing the world's energy, and it is the source of chakra in this world. 1,000 years ago, Mother ate the chakra fruit borne by the god tree, which led to the appearance of chakra in the ninja world, enabling all of you to use chakra, the chakra fruit. It is also the primordial substance of this world. Akihara Kagiura. Black Zetsu felt it had understood the situation, but it knew it had definitely been played by Akihara Kagiura. It asked in a somber tone, "Who exactly are you?" Compared to Black Zetsu's questioning, Kaguya Otsutsuki's reaction was more straightforward. Her body instantly entered a combat stance, ready to leave at any moment. Even though Kaguya Otsutsuki was not well versed in human emotions, she realized that her resurrection might be part of a conspiracy upon seeing the chakra fruit. Could this be an attack from outsiders? Don't be hasty. This is a long story. Akihara Kagiura raised his hand, and an invisible barrier emerged from his body, instantly forming a sealed space in the area. Akihara Kagiura continued to munch on the chakra fruit, muttering slowly, "I'm a bit thirsty, can you wait until I finish eating?" The ninjas present had dark lines on their foreheads. Was this really the time to be eating fruit? Kaguya Otsutsuki's figure stopped in place, a hint of worry in her eyes as she attempted to activate her unique Kekkei Genkai, the Rin Sharingan. Once the Rin Sharingan was activated, she could instantly transport herself and anyone else to her own unique space where she was the absolute deity. However, the activation of this Kekkei Genkai failed. This meant that Akihara Kagiura's chakra and techniques were stronger than hers, rendering her Rin Sharingan ineffective at this moment. Crunch! Crunch! Akihara Kagiura ate the fruit with a crisp sound. This fruit was a product of the revived 10 tails within him. Hade Kakashi's chakra had been completely absorbed, leaving him powerless and collapsed on the sea surface, though no one paid attention to him at this moment. Akihara Kagiura had not expected that after the 10 tails within him absorbed Hade Kakashi's chakra, its revival process would finally be completed, allowing it to provide him with a chakra fruit. This was inevitable. After the 10 tails matured within him, the fruit could no longer be hidden inside, so he might as well eat it cleanly at this moment. Moreover, other powers were continuously flowing in. A series of system prompts sounded somewhat noisy. System prompt: you have a new superior, Kaguya Otsutsuki, rewarded with a new trait, progenitor of chakra. Progenitor of chakra, this is the source of chakra, with nearly limitless chakra within the body, an immortal life form wielding god-like powers. The progenitor of chakra can transform chakra into any attribute at will, cast techniques instantly without hand signs, and freely awaken any Kekkei Genkais in the ninja world within their body, enhancing all Kekkei Genkais to the level of supreme Kekkei Genkais. Those who possess the progenitor of chakra will be able to activate progenitor mode. Any technique will be effortlessly mastered by the progenitor of chakra, greatly enhanced in power, and its essence will be completely seen through by the progenitor of chakra's eyes. System prompt: the host has awakened a new trait, Shiketsumiyaku. System prompt: the host has awakened a new trait, Byakugan. System prompt: detected the revival of the 10 tails husk within the host. The 10 tails will produce a chakra fruit and new attributes will be added. 10 tails Jinchuriki. Ten Tails Jinchuriki, the legendary fusion of the chakra progenitor and the god tree, formed the Ten Tails, which possesses unpredictable power. The Ten Tails Jinchuriki holds the ultimate power of the six paths and can unleash devastating force upon the ninja world, unlocking the ultimate six paths mode for the ninja. System prompt: detected the host consuming the chakra fruit, enhancing the chakra within the host and elevating their Kekkei Genkai. System prompt: Byakugan evolved into Tenseigan. Tenseigan, the legendary power capable of rivaling the Sage of Six Paths, evolved from the Byakugan Kekkei Genkai into the ultimate ocular technique, holding mysterious powers of creation and destruction. It is said that those who possess the Tenseigan can use the Six Paths Senjutsu like the Sage of Six Paths and can perform extraordinary jutsu using the Tenseigan's chakra. System prompt: Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan and 6 Tamo Rinnegan fused and evolved into 9 Tamo Rinnegan, greatly enhancing all of the host's ocular techniques. The duration of Limbo, Border Jail, is extended to 30 minutes, and the chakra consumption for limited Tsukiyomi and Limbo, Hengoku, is reduced. The host has awakened a new Rinnegan technique, Takamagahara. Takamagahara, the legendary abode of the gods, an independent space controlled by the caster. The caster can appear in Takamagahara at will, where everything is under their control, and they truly become a god within Takamagahara. System prompt: Shiketsamiyaku evolved into Dead Bone Pulse. Dead Bone Pulse, one of the legendary Kekkei Genkais, allows the user to condense their bones and shoot them out, extinguishing the enemy's life force with one strike, turning their body to ashes in seconds. Even the healing of Yin-Yang release is ineffective. System prompt: Ice Release, Lava Release, and Magnet Release fused and evolved into Nature. Nature, the legendary Kekkei Genkai, enables control over natural environmental changes, like thunder in winter and ice in summer, akin to a god. In just a few seconds, Akihara Kagura's body underwent a drastic transformation. The emergence of the chakra progenitor, Tenseigan, Ten Tails Jinchuriki, and 9 Tamo Rinnegan made Akihara Kagura realize the immense power he had gained. The chakra within him seemed almost infinite, even leaking out. At this moment, Akihara Kagura had acquired 3 states of power: Progenitor Mode, Six Paths Mode, and Tenseigan Mode. "I'm sorry." Akihara Kagura took a deep breath, his aura surged, and the tangible chakra quickly gathered behind him. "My power!" Akihara Kagura's fingers tightly gripped the icy chair, his fingers instantly digging 5 holes into the hard ice armrest. It might be a bit uncontrollable. Simultaneously, Akihara Kagura had received too much power. This power should have been obtained in phases, but it was unlocked at the same time, causing his chakra to rapidly transform. Whether it was the chakra progenitor, Ten Tails Jinchuriki, or the chakra fruit, any one of these powers would have been enough to transform Akihara Kagura's power. The combination of all 3 nearly overwhelmed his body. Akihara Kagura's black hair slowly turned into long, snow-white hair, cascading over his shoulders, with chakra crystals continuously falling from his hair. In Akihara Kagura's pupils, various top-tier ocular techniques appeared and disappeared, finally settling into a pair of Crimson 9 Tamo Rinnegan. A black truth-seeking orb appeared beside Akihara Kagura. This truth-seeking orb rapidly expanded into a black disk, resembling a black moon, floating behind Akihara Kagura's head. The energy emitted by his chakra stirred the entire sea, causing a huge wave to roll towards Akihara Kagura, which instantly turned into ice, forming a massive crystal wave screen behind his icy chair. A pair of crimson eyes, long flowing white hair, a black moon of truth-seeking orb suspended behind him, a giant wave screen frozen behind him. At this moment, Akihara Kagura looked like an apocalyptic god. His terrifying chakra and appearance struck fear into everyone present, leaving them in disbelief. Who exactly is this person? What kind of power had this man been suppressing? Until this moment, they had never seen Akihara Kagura reveal such an appearance. Now, Akihara Kagura seemed even more terrifying than when he had opened the 8th gate. Is it my illusion? Uzumaki Naruto couldn't believe his eyes, but the chakra aura he felt was real. He had never seen such terrifying chakra, making his teeth chatter. Why do I feel Kagura is stronger than Kaguya? No, it's not your illusion. Tabarama, known for his strong sensory abilities, was sweating profusely. This kid's chakra is something we can't comprehend. Terrifying. Akihara Kagura had been hiding such a powerful chakra. This chakra was like the blazing sun in the sky, impossible to look at directly for fear of its overwhelming power, and like the abyss of the sea, terrifying to approach for fear of being crushed. This kid had never used this power before. Only now did he reveal the terrifying chakra within him, a chakra that made resistance seem futile. Both Tabarama, Tsunade, and Haruno Sakura felt the overwhelming pressure of the deep sea. Even Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, who had received the Sage of Six Paths gifts, were shaken by the chakra Akihara Kagura unintentionally released. The Eight Gates released formation wasn't his peak. Tabarama felt the air around him compressing under Akihara Kagura's chakra, making it hard to breathe. This power doesn't seem like something a human can possess. This isn't a power that humans can possess. Even for ninjas, there should be limits. Perhaps Uchiha Madara was already the limit for humans. Akihara Kagura is now clearly on the same level as Kaguya Otsutsuki. How could such a thing happen? How could Akihara Kagura become so powerful? Everyone was filled with fear and contemplation. Even Kaguya Otsutsuki, with her pale hand hidden in her sleeve, trembled slightly. She could see through Akihara Kagura's chakra better than anyone else and knew just how terrifying it was. The young man sitting on the ice chair. Contained within him was a fearsome power that even she had never seen before. Black Zetsu, hidden in Kaguya Otsutsuki's sleeve, was trembling with fear, feeling it had made a grave mistake in reviving Kaguya alongside Akihara Kagura. This is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. Black Zetsu's body was shaking, and its usually hoarse voice was tinged with panic. This is your conspiracy. Reviving Mother was your conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. This is Akihara Kagura's conspiracy. That bastard wants to use it to revive Mother. Akihara Kagura, that bastard. The extraterrestrial enemy Kaguya Otsutsuki has always been wary of. Akihara Kagura! Black Zetsu could no longer suppress its fear. It screamed in panic. You are an outsider. You have never been a human of this land. Akihara Kagura is not a human of this land. Akihara Kagura has never belonged to this ninja world. He has always been an outsider. Only an outsider could possess such powerful and terrifying strength. Akihara Kagura is a disguised extraterrestrial enemy. All the ninjas present were visibly shocked. Tabarama suddenly recalled something Black Zetsu had mentioned during its fallout with Uchiha Madara. It and Kaguya wanted to fight against an extraterrestrial enemy. Akihara Kagura. Is he the extraterrestrial enemy? Has everything he's done been to deal with Kaguya Otsutsuki? You've finally figured it out. Akihara Kagura slowly sat up straight, reached out to hold his forehead and covered his face with his hand. However, everyone could see the eerie smile at the corner of his mouth that his hand couldn't hide. The Hyuga clan's wooden plaque. Black Zetsu recalled why it had unwaveringly believed in Akihara Kagura, why it never doubted that Akihara Kagura was a ninja from this land. It's fake! Black Zetsu's voice turned sinister. Hidden in Kaguya Otsutsuki's sleeve, it spoke through gritted teeth. The contents recorded on the Hyuga clan's wooden plaque are all fake. It is impossible for a descendant of the Uchiha clan to possess such power, because their bodies could never withstand the overwhelming chakra that Akihara Kagura possessed. Not even Hashirama could do it. Not even the Sage of the Six Paths, Kaguya Otsutsuki's son, could do it. The Hyuga clan's wooden plaque, which recorded Akihara Kagura as a branch member of the Uchiha clan, is all fake. All of it is fake. Black Zetsu gritted its teeth and revealed the truth it had discovered, its small eyes fixed on the daunting Akihara Kagura. The contents on it were fabricated by you. It is fake. It was all fabricated. Everything is Akihara Kagura's conspiracy. Yes! A crimson light shone through Akihara Kagura's fingers. It was an eye that no one dared to look at directly, the 9 Tamo Rinnegan. Even the slightest glimpse of that red color instilled fear. Even Kaguya Otsutsuki, the ancestor of chakra, only had a 9 Tamo Rinnegan on her forehead, yet Akihara Kagura had 2 such eyes. However, only now do you understand. Akihara Kagura's smile remained, ignoring Black Zetsu's anger and fear. He spoke slowly. The bark of the Senju clan is fake. The Sage of the Six Paths never left any information about you. It was only to make my knowledge of your existence seem reasonable. The Hyuga clan's wooden plaque was also fabricated by me to make you believe I was a descendant of the Uchiha clan, to make you think everything was under control, so you would confidently revive Kaguya Otsutsuki at this moment. I was worried you wouldn't be able to handle me at this moment. For this reason, I've been trying to avoid the revival of the 10 tails within me. Akihara Kagura spread his hand, revealing a warm smile to Black Zetsu and Kaguya Otsutsuki. If it weren't for the 10 tails maturing and bearing fruit, I might have let you and Princess Kaguya be happy for a while longer. See, how kind I am to you. The voice of Akihara Kagura was very gentle. Even at this time, while Black Zetsu was nearly going mad, Akihara Kagura still seemed like a patient parent coaxing a child, as if afraid Black Zetsu would go astray. However, This was somewhat terrifying. What kind of person could speak so gently, even saying tender words, but still make people feel a bit scared? Even Uzumaki Naruto, who was a bit slow, felt something was off. Something doesn't seem right. Kagura is always caring about Black Zetsu's feelings. That's clearly mockery. Tabarama glared at Uzumaki Naruto, feeling that this kid was overly naive. Akihara Kagura has always manipulated the entire ninja world and Black Zetsu. How could he be so kind-hearted to care about its feelings? Such a naive kid. But this little guy called Uzumaki Naruto, the son of the fourth Hokage, now seemed to have become the strongest force in the new generation of Konoha. What's happening with Konoha? Either someone as manipulative as Akihara Kagura appears, or a simple-minded kid like Uzumaki Naruto. All the spectators could hear Akihara Kagura's mockery, and Black Zetsu felt like it was about to explode with rage. It had always manipulated the ninja world. This world was too false. Black Zetsu did not want to endure this pain of being deceived. False reality had actually descended upon it one day. As the mastermind hidden behind the ninja world for thousands of years, Black Zetsu always believed the ninjas living in the ninja world were merely living in a false reality. When Kaguya Otsutsuki was revived and descended again, they would see the true world. At this time, it had become someone else's plaything. You! Who are you? Veins appeared on Kaguya Otsutsuki's face as her Byakugan stared at the chakra pathway system inside Akihara Kagura, seeing the 10 tails inside him. This question, not only did Kaguya Otsutsuki find it very curious, but all the ninjas present were also curious. If the records of the Hyuga clan were false, if Akihara Kagura was not a branch member of the Uchiha clan, but an extraterrestrial being from legend, what was his purpose? Where should I start? Akihara Kagura raised his forehead again, as if he was at a loss for words, his brows gently furrowed. When a certain creature appears, another creature capable of controlling its fate will also appear. Even beings as powerful as gods have those who can spy on them. Akihara Kagura's gaze fell on Kaguya Otsutsuki. Someone is greedy for this world, trying to use the god tree to convert natural energy into chakra for their own. Kaguya Otsutsuki's eyes lifted. Naturally, her chakra will also become prey. Akihara Kagura changed the topic, mentioning his own origins, because there are also those who can watch all of this unfold, observing the operations of those worlds. By chance, there may be opportunities to intervene and take what they want. Prey! Everyone's eyes turned to Kaguya Otsutsuki, because only Kaguya Otsutsuki was the one sealed. Considering mother as prey, Black Zetsu's heart was filled with anger and fear. On one hand, it was angry that Akihara Kagura turned out to be a hunter, always watching Kaguya Otsutsuki. His purpose in coming here was to hunt Kaguya Otsutsuki. On the other hand, it feared Akihara Kagura's true intentions. He regarded Kaguya Otsutsuki's chakra as prey, bringing immense trouble for his resurrected mother. Kaguya Otsutsuki's forehead twitched, the 9-tamo Rinnegan on her forehead trembled. So, everything that happened in the ninja world. Black Zetsu's body shrank suddenly, as if it imagined there were terrifying eyes watching it all along. Was it all within your observation? No, Akihara Kagura slowly shook his head, speaking sincerely. I only saw some interesting stories, some worth observing. As he said this, the corners of Akihara Kagura's mouth lifted into a smile. Black Zetsu, your story is undoubtedly the most interesting. The clever thing is, I also got an opportunity to come to this planet and intervene. Akihara Kagura looked at Kaguya Otsutsuki before him, revealing a seemingly helpless and regretful smile. It's just a pity that my timing wasn't very clever. The prey had already been sealed, and I could only find a way to unlock the sealed cage of the prey. You! Black Zetsu glared at Akihara Kagura with gritted teeth. At that time, both Kaguya and himself were targeted by Akihara Kagura, hunting. Ignoring Black Zetsu, Akihara Kagura began to explain the concept of hunting to Kaguya, who frowned slightly. It's a way for early humans to obtain food. It's a process that requires strength, and also tests one's skills. If a hunter wants to capture timid prey like a rabbit, they must first make it gradually lower its guard and slowly step into the trap. So, Akihara Kagura's gaze fell on Orochimaru as he began to speak of his own experiences. I chose to integrate into this world to lower the prey's vigilance. Everyone's eyes were on Orochimaru. Orochimaru's eyes narrowed slightly. He hadn't entered the infinite Tsukiyomi, yet he was still being manipulated by Akihara Kagura. Orochimaru had always known. He was always a pawn for this bastard Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura's identity had shifted from being a descendant of the Senju clan to a descendant of the Uchiha clan, and now to someone from another world. No wonder this guy could master any technique so easily. No wonder this guy could constantly set up various schemes because everything in the ninja world was under his surveillance. Orochimaru-sama. Akihara Kagura looked at Orochimaru, smiling lightly as he spoke. I must admit, even in the ninja world, there are geniuses like Orochimaru-sama who yearn for science. Your science gave me direction. In order to reasonably integrate into the ninja world, in order to reasonably gain great power. I found you, hidden in the darkness, and used a few simple methods to gain your trust, allowing you to help me transplant the cells of the ninja god Hashirama, thereby unlocking the power of wood release and obtaining the power that can be reasonably used in the ninja world. Orochimaru's mouth twitched. Back then, Akihara Kagura was indeed not a perfect lab assistant, but he had just defected from Konoha, and the experimental subjects captured couldn't match Akihara Kagura's level. At that time, I originally wanted to kill Orochimaru-sama. Akihara Kagura paused, then continued with a light smile, but I found that Orochimaru-sama's identity was very useful. He could connect me with Konoha, because he was still colluding with the person I respected most in this ninja world. Everyone present had a strange expression. Those who had stayed en route mostly knew who Akihara Kagura was talking about and what fate that person met. One should say, as expected of someone from another world. He could even say this without guilt. He could describe that most miserable old man as the person he respected most. Who is the person Kagura respects? Uzumaki Naruto asked hesitantly, frowning. Shimura Danzo. Uchiha Sasuke had to answer for his friend, and added, however, Kagura forced Danzo to defect from Konoha and become a rogue ninja, and then used Danzo as a sacrifice for the Edo Tensei to revive the third Hokage. Such a thing, just thinking about it feels a bit pitiful. Shimura Danzo, who fought for Konoha almost his entire life, lost both his reputation and his life in his old age. I am very grateful to Danzo-sama. Akihara Kagura spread his hands, slowly closing his eyes, as if reminiscing about Danzo's lost anger and appearance. Because Danzo-sama wanted to use me as a handy killing weapon, I was able to enter Konoha, enter the origin of everything. Tabarama's face twitched. The long-dead Shimura Danzo wouldn't want your gratitude at all. Because of Danzo-sama, I encountered very interesting people. Akihara Kagura's gaze swept over Hade Kakashi, who was lying on the sea, and he spoke softly. This ninja world is more interesting than I imagined, with stories beyond just killing. Of course, the most crucial part. I came into contact with the Eye of the Moon plan. Akihara Kagura's lips curved into a smile as he spoke of his regrets. I always knew that Black Zetsu was the true mastermind behind the Eye of the Moon plan. Unfortunately, Black Zetsu never wanted to reveal his true identity. Even when I revived Uchiha Madara, he still wanted to exist in the world through Uchiha Madara's will. I guess that Black Zetsu wanted to use Uchiha Madara as a sacrifice to revive Kaguya Otsutsuki, which coincided with my own plans. However, Akihara Kagura's tone suddenly lowered, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Madara's personality is a bit too arrogant. He might consider me irrelevant and kick me out of the Eye of the Moon plan, causing my plan to revive the prey to fail. So, Black Zetsu's voice became angry, recalling the contents recorded on that piece of senju bark. He gritted his teeth and said, "You forged the senju bark, forcing Uchiha Madara and me to split, and made me believe that Hagoromo still had a backup plan. Similarly, you also wanted to use Madara as a sacrifice." Black Zetsu's voice became hoarse again. "But you cannot ensure that the power you reveal will defeat the ever-growing Madara. And once you reveal too much power, it will arouse my suspicion. So you forged a wooden tag from the Hyuga clan, creating an elaborate story in public, allowing you to justifiably use the power of the Mangekyou Sharingan." Even at this moment, Black Zetsu had to admit that Akihara Kagura's fabricated past was extremely brilliant. Because at that time, the ninjas present all believed the history recorded on the Hyuga clan's wooden tag. The minor flaws in it concealed Akihara Kagura's grand conspiracy. This man revealed his Mangekyou Sharingan at that time. He even fabricated an almost flawless reason for the birth of his Mangekyou Sharingan, showing everyone the terrifying nature of Akihara Kagura and his ancestors with his eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. However, it was all fake. Black Zetsu, you guessed correctly. Akihara Kagura clapped his hands and laughed, praising Black Zetsu's wisdom. The only use of that wooden tag was to help me forge an Uchiha lineage, allowing me to justifiably use the Sharingan's eye technique, making you believe that I'm a hidden Uchiha, not some so-called outsider. Before that day, the entire ninja world was terrified of my attempt to destroy the ninja world. In order to stop me from destroying and recreating the ninja world, all ninjas gathered together, their chakra becoming the nourishment for Kaguya's resurrection. And after that day, Akihara Kagura's smile suddenly became radiant, as if finally speaking of his pride. The hunter with the sharp blade finally had the chance to approach his prey, and the prey will even chose to trust the hunter's goodwill, willingly offering itself up. Uzumaki Naruto's teeth were chattering. As for Haruno Sakura, she was even more terrified, trembling beside Tsunade. What a flawless plan! Orochimaru took a deep breath, his heart not as terrified as Black Zetsu, yet still feeling a sense of trepidation. Even someone hearing this story from the outside would feel a chill down their spine. This guy! Tabarama glanced at Kaguya Otsutsuki and the Black Zetsu in her sleeve. Using over 10 years to set up a series of interconnected schemes, making the progenitor of chakra his prey, silently leading Black Zetsu into the trap without him realizing it. Akihara Kagura, truly the most terrifying hunter in this world. Even the best hunters in the ninja world couldn't have devised such a meticulous plan as Akihara Kagura, to be honest. Even if they were in Black Zetsu's position, they might have also fallen into Akihara Kagura's trap. Everyone couldn't help but look at Akihara Kagura. Everyone present felt an overwhelming fear, as if they were on the edge of an abyss. Black Zetsu was still regretful and angry at his short-sightedness. He did not notice any flaws at that time, but how could he have noticed any flaws back then? The ancestor fabricated by Akihara Kagura was not a powerful Uchiha, nor the reincarnation of Indra's chakra. Why would he even think to check that, especially when he was shocked by the supposed terror of Akihara Kagura's lineage of Uchiha? At that time, he was also angry at Uchiha Madara's betrayal and delighted that Akihara Kagura voluntarily took his place as his pawn. But this pawn was actually the true master of the game. He himself was the pawn that fell into the trap on the chessboard. As for the rest of the story, there's no need to elaborate. Because Black Zetsu trusted Akihara Kagura and did not doubt that Akihara Kagura was an extraterrestrial enemy, he entrusted the Eye of the Moon plan to Akihara Kagura. As a result, it was all too late. Everything in the ninja world fell completely under Akihara Kagura's control. Uchiha Madara, in order to resist Akihara Kagura's destruction of the ninja world, absorbed the chakra of the ninja world and became the sacrifice for Kaguya's resurrection. Akihara Kagura successfully revived Kaguya Otsutsuki, the prey he sought. Kaguya Otsutsuki looked nervous. How could this man named Akihara Kagura be more terrifying than the Otsutsuki clan? Black Zetsu was filled with fear, not daring to speak to Kaguya Otsutsuki, all because he fell into the trap leading to the current situation. Now, this long hunt has finally reached its end. Akihara Kagura's voice became gentle, softly sighing at his hard work. The prey has escaped the cage that imprisoned and protected her, and the hunter has finally reached the moment of harvest. To think I am treated as prey. Kaguya Otsutsuki's expression showed a hint of nervousness. At this moment, Kaguya Otsutsuki, disregarding everything, directly raised her hands towards Akihara Kagura. 2 gray bones shot out from her palms, suddenly flying towards Akihara Kagura. In this tense moment, Kaguya Otsutsuki decisively used her most terrifying bloodline ability, the all-killing Ash Bones, a lethal strike from the progenitor of chakra. At this moment, Kaguya Otsutsuki hurriedly chose to shoot 2 all-killing Ash Bones. To the other ninjas, Kaguya's attack seemed to be fueled by her anger at being treated as prey. Only Black Zetsu and Kaguya understood that it stemmed from her fear. Fear, tension, and unease. These emotions truly reflected Kaguya's state of mind. Upon truly becoming prey, Kaguya's first thought was to leave. However, this sea area was completely sealed by Akihara Kagura's time-space blocking barrier, making it impossible for her to use any space-time techniques to escape. Her heart was filled with dread. At this moment, Kaguya's panic finally fermented, and the fear of being unable to use space-time techniques completely overwhelmed her. The progenitor of chakra appeared like a rabbit cornered. She is in a hurry. Akihara Kagura slightly tilted his head to dodge one of the all-killing Ash Bones, then raised his finger and flicked another. Crack! The all-killing Ash Bone instantly shattered. Kaguya's eyes narrowed as she watched her attack being neutralized by Kagura. Her white hair immediately began to dance wildly, strands of it flying densely around. Rabbit hair needle. Countless strands of her hair attacked Kagura like long needles, while Kaguya used her Byakugan to observe Kagura's vital points and weaknesses. Kagura raised his palm. Lightning danced wildly. Arcs of electricity suddenly flickered throughout the sea area, shattering the needle like hair strands in an instant. This was a battle between deities. Under the mighty heavenly power, other ninjas appeared as insignificant as mortals. 80 gods vacuum attack! Kaguya raised her palm heavily. Her chakra surged, and numerous gigantic chakra fists emerged from her back, appearing around her. The enormous fist smashed towards Kagura, locking all escape routes with the assistance of her Byakugan. This strike could only be endured head-on by Kagura himself. Without fear, Kagura also raised his palm. White chakra surged from his back, transforming into huge hands that caught the incoming fists. The countless chakra hands and fists clashed in the air, filling the sealed space with dense chakra. A group of ninjas stood on the sea, trembling. Everyone hurriedly evaded their attacks, fearing collateral damage from the battle. Even Uzumaki, Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke dared not be careless. As fists and hands collided, the white hands clenched the chakra fists, crushing them. The 80 Gods' vacuum attack appeared fragile at this moment. The technique, an absolute offense and defense used by the progenitor of chakra, was directly countered by Kagura's similar technique. The technique was broken. Kaguya's expression became even more tense, her fair fingers faintly trembling as her power was being utterly overwhelmed by Kagura. Next moment, all the white chakra hands in the sky merged into a colossal hand, slamming into Kaguya. She raised her palm to resist, but her body was sent flying like a meteor. The progenitor of chakra's body crashed into the barrier, causing it to tremble violently. Ignoring her injuries, Kaguya immediately raised her hand, trying to create a gap in the barrier to escape. Trying to leave, a voice appeared in Kaguya's ear. Kaguya's heart panicked as she saw Kagura's figure close by. The hunter from beyond the heavens had appeared before her in an instant. At this moment, Kaguya felt like a frightened rabbit trapped in a cage, her body instantly fleeing from Kagura, afraid of being caught. "Mother!" Black Zetsu, sensing Kaguya's fear and unease, cautiously spoke. "Should we leave here first?" Kaguya bit her lip. Her eyes saw only the barrier over the sea forming a dome. Within this barrier, she couldn't use any space-time techniques. But a gray bone spike reignited her hope. Kaguya remembered one of the all-killing ash bones she had released. While one was shattered by Kagura, the other was dodged by him. That bone finally reached the barrier's edge, embedding itself into it. Next moment, the barrier disappeared without a trace. Could the all-killing ash bone break this barrier? Seeing the bone pierce the barrier, causing it to vanish, Kaguya quickly hid in her space-time realm. Trying to escape, Kagura watched her disappear, showing no panic, even revealing a wild and rampant smile. "The whole planet is now my hunting ground. How can prey escape the hunter's pursuit?" After saying this, Kagura raised his hand, opening a pitch-black space-time gate, and prepared to step through. This was an inherent ability of the progenitor of chakra. Any power the ancestor could use, Kagura could easily replicate, capable of breaking any technique, even Keke Mora. "Kagura!" A voice stopped him. Hade Kakashi, weakly standing up, looked solemnly at Kagura, speaking in a deep voice. "I heard everything just now. Your purpose in coming to this world is for Kaguya's chakra. After obtaining her chakra, will you leave here? Will you destroy this world?" Akihara Kagura furrowed his brows, then immediately let out a faint smile, seemingly finding Hade Kakashi's question somewhat foolish. If he wanted to leave this world, besides destroying it, he would also need to be expelled from it entirely, making it impossible for this world to contain him. However, what did Kakashi mean by wanting to send him off? "Kakashi, the current you? Why are you like a naive child?" Akihara Kagura shook his head with a smile, his eyes gradually becoming serious. "In view of our past acquaintance, let me tell you your fate in advance. This planet is a natural hunting ground." Akihara Kagura's gaze swept across everyone present, his lips curling into a chilling smile. "Since it's a hunting ground, there naturally won't be just one prey." Everyone's eyes widened in realization, instantly understanding Akihara Kagura's meaning. They were all prey he intended to hunt. Even the remnants of chakra observed at the brink of life and death are worthy prey for a hunter. After finishing his words, Akihara Kagura stepped into the dark portal of space-time, leaving behind only a sentence. "Even the souls hiding in the pure land of the underworld are worthy of being caught by a hunter's net." Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto were simultaneously shocked. Akihara Kagura, this guy, he wouldn't even spare the dead in the Pure Land. He's gone! Haruno Sakura watched Akihara Kagura step into the space-time portal, finally letting out a sigh of relief, her face still covered in cold sweat. That man's aura was so intimidating I didn't dare to move. It's amazing Kakashi-sensei could even speak to him. One might as well die with clarity, right? Hade Kakashi gave a bitter smile. "That guy!" Orochimaru recalled Akihara Kagura's past behavior and let out a light chuckle. "Indeed, he would ensure one dies with clarity just like what he did to Danzo in the past. Now we have a big problem." Uchiha Sasuke's eyes flashed red, his expression exceptionally serious. You all saw it just now. They both have the power to destroy the world. Whether it's Akihara Kagiura or Kaguya Otsutsuki, the Sage of Six Paths said that Kaguya wanted to collect the chakra of the ninja world. Akihara Kagiura also wants to gather the chakra of the ninja world, including Kaguya's chakra, and he won't even spare the souls in the Pure Land. Whether it's Kaguya or Akihara Kagiura, they are enemies we must face, something we cannot avoid. Both are nearly unbeatable, however. They are dangers we must deal with. What Sasuke means? Haruno Sakura furrowed her brows, seeming to grasp Uchiha Sasuke's thoughts. Are we supposed to find a way to deal with them? But we are seemingly of no use. Orochimaru shook his head, yet still had a smile on his face. We should consider how to survive the aftermath of their battle, shouldn't we? Let me think of a way. An old voice appeared above the sea. I never imagined there would be enemies even more terrifying than my mother in the ninja world. The voice, though old, was powerful and lamenting. Hamura once mentioned that gods as strong as our mother would feel fear. Now I finally understand what she was afraid of. Such an enemy, whether it's his cunning or strength, indeed induces fear. Some found the voice familiar, while others did not. Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto looked towards the source of the voice. An old, ethereal figure gradually appeared above the sea, standing over the remains of Uchiha Madara, remains from the battle between Akihara Kagiura and Madara. After all, the sea was scattered with Madara's fragments. Madara was the most injured in the battle because he fought Akihara Kagiura the longest. The figure was the Sage of Six Paths. At this moment, the Sage of Six Paths could no longer sit idle. Because he initially thought Akihara Kagiura was an ordinary ninja, but it turned out he was a terrifying extraterrestrial being. His strategies, his demonstrated power, and his attitude towards the ninja world were far more dangerous than his mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki. A powerful ninja of this level being exposed now, the residual chakra of the Sage of Six Paths could not ignore it. He used Madara's remains as a coordinate, despite his depleted chakra, to teleport to the present world. Old man Sage, Uzumaki Naruto felt a swift sense of calm. However, Uchiha Sasuke, unlike his naive friend, looked at the Sage of Six Paths and asked in a deep voice, Sage of Six Paths, what should we do now? I'll think of a way to unite everyone. The Sage of Six Paths gazed at the gathered ninjas and spoke calmly, to resolve the threat posed by Akihara Kagiura together with my mother. This was my oversight. I initially thought Akihara Kagiura was just an ordinary ninja. Once he appeared, I couldn't see through his darkness. Before that, the Sage of Six Paths slowly set his eyes on Hideki Kakashi. Looking into his eyes, he said in a deep voice, Your power can become even stronger. Young Hideki Kakashi, please come forward. Everyone else present had reached their limits, but Kakashi, having transplanted a pair of Mangekyou Sharingan, still had some potential for improvement. Hideki Kakashi extended his hand, touching the hand of the Sage of Six Paths, and suddenly felt his ocular power greatly enhanced. This was a gift from the Sage of Six Paths. Hideki Kakashi felt he could activate the complete body Susanoo, and even his Kamui ability was strengthened, potentially allowing unlimited use like Albedo in the past. Unfortunately, this power could be easily sealed, because Akihara Kagiura's abilities greatly counter spatial ninjas. However, couldn't be deemed completely useless. Since the barrier created by Kagiura will eventually dissipate, the time when it does is also when he can be useful. Now I only have a little chakra left. After granting his chakra to Hideki Kakashi, the Sage of Six Paths scanned the people present and said in a deep voice, I will summon all the ninjas that have ever appeared in this world, gather their chakra, and send you to the hiding place of my mother. Together with her, we will address this imminent crisis. What do you mean? Uzumaki Naruto was still somewhat confused. The next moment, the Sage of Six Paths raised his hand. Countless phantom figures appeared beside the Sage of Six Paths. These were all the ninjas who had ever used chakra. All those who possessed chakra, their souls were summoned to the living world at this moment. Even the reanimated ninjas were summoned. The moment these ninjas came into contact with the Sage of Six Paths chakra, they understood his intention and the crisis facing the ninja world. Dad! Mom! Naruto even saw his mother, Uzumaki Kushina, and his father, Minato, who had previously resealed the 9 tails inside him and died. Minato had experienced much in his short life, dying twice, each time profoundly affecting his son. His first death turned Naruto into the 9 tails Jinchuriki, leading Naruto to live a life shrouded in darkness. His second death, after being revived by Uchiha Albedo's Rin Tensei, allowed Minato to seal the other half of the 9 tails inside Naruto when the 9 tails was extracted, preserving Naruto's life. This father finally fulfilled his wish in his second death. Minato returned to the Pure Land of the afterlife to reunite with his wife, Uzumaki Kushina, and ultimately sacrificed his life for the child he felt he had wronged. Minato hadn't expected that he and Kushina would be summoned back to the living world by the Sage of Six Paths so soon after reuniting in the Pure Land. Standing among the crowd, the couple looked at their son with bright smiles on their faces. Naruto! Dad, Mom! Naruto clenched his fists, never having expected to see them again, even if only their souls. Hadate Kakashi silently watched the group of souls. As a ninja who had constantly lost people, Kakashi saw many individuals who were extremely important to him. A middle-aged man who looked somewhat like Kakashi smiled kindly at him. "I thought I wouldn't get to apologize to you until much later, Kakashi." This middle-aged man was Sakumo Hadake, Kakashi's father, who had committed suicide when Kakashi was 5, casting a shadow over his life. To see his son again, Sakumo had lingered in the Pure Land, waiting. Unexpectedly, he was summoned to the living world by the Sage of Six Paths, giving him a chance to contribute to his son. "Hey, Kakashi!" After his death, Uchiha Obaido's soul returned to his youthful appearance. Standing beside Sakumo, he shouted, "Don't be so down, pull yourself together." "Hang in there, Kakashi," Rin Nohara loudly encouraged her friend. "Okay." The gloom in Kakashi's heart finally dissipated, and he managed a smile in front of his friend's souls. "Sister, you can do it!" A chubby boy's immature voice echoed in Tsunede's ears. He even saw Orochimaru beside him, and Orochimaru-sensei, you must also do your best. A white-haired ninja standing beside the boy spoke softly. "Tsunade, you are the best medical ninja. Keep going." "Nawaki, Dan." Tsunade looked at her brother and former lover, tears streaming down her face. "Nawaki!" Orochimaru looked at the chubby boy, a nostalgic expression in his eyes. As Orochimaru pondered, two familiar souls appeared before them. The third Hokage, Saruto by Hiruzen, had a serious expression. "Orochimaru, Tsunade, you two are my best students." "Orochimaru, kill that boy." Shimura Danzo, standing beside Hiruzen, still bore a grudge against Kagura. "That boy used us as pawns and filled the route I created with Uchiha. Do not let him go." "Hey, what's wrong with Uchiha?" A voice sounded beside Danzo. A man with a headband looked at Danzo, while a group of Uchiha in clan attire stood behind him. The number of Uchiha souls was so vast, one couldn't see the end of their ranks. For 1,000 years, countless Uchiha had been born. Their souls, which had resided in the Pure Land, were now summoned, confronting their most hated individuals. "Itachi is here. Danzo is here too. Uchiha Itachi and Danzo are here." A group of Uchiha called for those who died on the night of the massacre to come over, making the scene chaotic. Fortunately, a figure stopped them. "Quiet down!" Uchiha Shisui, who had saved some Uchiha during the massacre and provided them with a new refuge, commanded great respect. His soul had also been summoned. With a serious expression, he said, "This is not the time for revenge. We are here to address the crisis in the ninja world. Your relatives are still being deceived." The vengeful Uchiha fell silent. "Unfortunately," one Uchiha sighed, "we are already dead and have no time to hold a clan meeting to deal with Uchiha Itachi." At the end of the Uchiha souls' ranks, Uchiha Itachi's soul painfully watched two souls standing before him with Uchiha Sasuke beside them, staring at the couple. "Dad! Mom!" Uchiha Sasuke took a deep breath, forcing himself to hide his vulnerability. In a low voice he said, "I'm sorry, I thought I was strong enough, but I couldn't even protect your peace. Instead, I'm disturbing your rest at this moment." "Sasuke, Sasuke!" Uchiha Fugaku's spirit shook his head and said solemnly, "Sasuke, you are already exceptional. Don't be too hard on yourself. Sasuke, don't overwork yourself." Uchiha Mikoto smiled as she comforted her younger son. She then looked at her elder son. "Itachi, don't blame yourself too much. Didn't we agree on this?" "Itachi!" Uchiha Fugaku shook his head and said solemnly, "This is due to our narrow perspective. Saying anything more is useless now. Let's cherish this final reunion. If this battle fails, the souls in the Pure Land will not find peace either." The sea area was lively for a moment, then gradually quieted down. These souls, long dead, knew it wasn't the time for reminiscing. They silently looked at the Sage of Six Paths who had summoned them. "HMPH!" The leader of the Uchiha clan seemed somewhat dissatisfied with the Sage of Six Paths. Among the Senju clan stood a simple man. "Brother, we have been dead for 1,000 years, and our chakra has fought for 1,000 years. Isn't it time to stop?" This was Indra and Asura. For a millennium, only their chakra reincarnated, not their souls. The Sage of Six Paths glanced at the souls of his two sons, seeming somewhat helpless as he slowly raised his palm. A vast void barrier appeared on the sea surface. In a deep voice he said, "Now, all ninjas, please connect your chakra to the barrier I have created. I need to borrow your chakra to open a passage to the battlefield and send all participants over." All the souls present raised their palms. At this moment, countless ninjas, ever since the birth of chakra, were finally gathered together. Countless glowing souls raised their palms, and countless hands touched the barrier of the Sage of Six Paths, linking their remaining chakra through the barrier. Everyone! Uzumaki Naruto watched the countless ninjas extending their hands, contributing their chakra for the upcoming battle. Among them were ninjas he knew, even his family. But there were more ninjas he did not know. These known and unknown ninjas, their lives spanning thousands of years apart, many not knowing each other, were all united at this moment for the survival of the ninja world, for a common goal. Uzumaki Naruto remembered Jiraiya's teachings, and his heart suddenly opened up. The pressure brought by Akihara Kagura's power vanished at that moment. Ninjas can unite. Ninjas can understand each other. Uzumaki Naruto clenched his fist, his gaze falling on Uchiha Sasuke beside him. "Hey, Sasuke!" A determined look flashed across Uzumaki Naruto's face. "This time we will definitely win." Meanwhile, Amenamenaka. This was a space belonging solely to Kaguya Otsutsuki. Within this space there were 6 different spaces, with the central one being the initial sphere space, connected to other spaces of desert, magma, ice, acid, and gravity. This space was entirely controlled by Kaguya Otsutsuki, each space having a castle and statues for her resident. Here, she could absorb the chakra of those under the infinite Tsukiyomi to restore her strength. This was her space. However, Kaguya Otsutsuki didn't dare bring Akihara Kagura into this space because she feared it couldn't protect her. She only wanted to hide here for a while. Yes, hide for a while. Kaguya Otsutsuki knew very well that space was merely a toy in the hands of beings at their level. This space could only hide her for a while. Eventually, Akihara Kagura would find her. Kaguya Otsutsuki hid in a castle within the space, took a deep breath, and slowly calmed herself, thinking about how to escape the hunter. "Are we hiding here?" Black Zetsu sensed his mother's unease. "No!" Kaguya Otsutsuki slowly shook her head, still thinking about the scene where Akihara Kagura shattered the all-killing ash bones with a flick of his finger. "We must find a way to leave this planet. He will find this place eventually." Before she finished speaking, a pitch-black space-time gate silently opened. Akihara Kagura stepped out leisurely from the space-time gate. Obviously, Akihara Kagura arrived too quickly. Kaguya Otsutsuki's eyes tightened, and she disappeared instantly, reappearing in another desert space. Akihara Kagura followed closely. Just as Kaguya Otsutsuki arrived in the desert space, Akihara Kagura, like a shadow, appeared in the desert, looking up at Kaguya Otsutsuki in the sky. Akihara Kagura raised his hand and greeted her. "Kaguya!" Akihara Kagura smiled, his eyes still revealing the dangerous glint of having everything under control. "Where do you think you can escape to? This is the 1,000-year blood war of the ninja world, finally reaching its end. The speed of his space-time teleportation is incredibly fast." Kaguya Otsutsuki immediately wanted to escape hastily. "Mother, solve him here." Black Zetsu quickly soothed Kaguya Otsutsuki's nervousness, reminding her that escaping would be futile. "This is your dimension. Here is where you have a chance to defeat him." Kaguya Otsutsuki fell silent. The progenitor of chakra thought for a second, slowly raised her hand. Black Zetsu was right about one thing. Only here did she have the hope of fighting Akihara Kagura. If she kept running, she would inevitably have to face this battle. A gleam of determination flashed in Kaguya Otsutsuki's eyes. She turned her palm and struck down, her voice quickly becoming cold and resolute. "Then here, let's settle this." Kaguya Otsutsuki's entire aura turned icy in the sky. The rabbit goddess no longer evaded. Gathering chakra in her hands as if it were solid, she unleashed her full strength, not daring to be careless. A violent wind erupted in the desert. Yellow sand danced in the sky, transforming into massive tornadoes. Kaguya Otsutsuki's palm suddenly aimed at Akihara Kagura. The tornado shrank rapidly, enveloping his body. Countless grains of sand, driven by the tornado's powerful wind speed, began to cut Akihara Kagura's body like blades, a force strong enough to reduce a human body to a skeleton. "A cornered rabbit will bite back." Akihara Kagura sighed with an old saying. A mass of lightning danced wildly in the tornado, the thunder instantly tearing the wind apart. A colossal giant formed of lightning appeared in the desert, roaring as it reached for Kaguya Otsutsuki in the sky, lightning flashing in its giant hand. "This guy!" Black Zetsu trembled in fear. Kaguya Otsutsuki's gaze was cold as she raised her hand. A gray bone spike emerged from Kaguya Otsutsuki's hand, piercing the lightning giant's hand, reducing it to ashes in an instant. Under Kaguya Otsutsuki's Byakugan, Akihara Kagura's concealment was revealed. He wasn't hiding in the giant's body, but in its hand. Nothing could escape the Byakugan's sight. Akihara Kagura's figure appeared suddenly in front of Kaguya Otsutsuki after the giant dissipated, swinging his fist towards her face. In an instant, the two engaged in hand-to-hand combat. A hint of nervousness appeared on Kaguya Otsutsuki's beautiful face. It was her first time fighting someone of Akihara Kagura's level. Even though she had seen through his tricks with the Byakugan, she instinctively reached out to catch his fist. "Mother, don't touch his body!" Black Zetsu barely managed to warn his mother. Black Zetsu knew well that Akihara Kagura was skilled in the Flying Thunder God technique. With his devious nature, he would surely leave a Flying Thunder God mark on Kaguya Otsutsuki. "Huh!" Kaguya Otsutsuki looked at her hand grasping Akihara Kagura's fist, wondering if it was too late to say this now. Of course. The biggest problem in close combat wasn't the Flying Thunder God. It was that Kaguya Otsutsuki, the progenitor of chakra, wasn't good at close combat. Akihara Kagura saw through Kaguya Otsutsuki's clumsy taijutsu techniques immediately. To someone like him, who could even suppress Uchiha Madara, her taijutsu seemed as naive and innocent as a little rabbit. Akihara Kagura didn't mind his fist being held by her. Taking advantage of their contact, he instantly got closer to Kaguya Otsutsuki's body, his elbow and shoulder repeatedly striking her chest, the immense force brought by chakra. In an instant, Kaguya Otsutsuki had to let go of Akihara Kagura. The rabbit goddess's body was uncontrollably sent flying. Akihara Kagura's body followed closely, his speed so fast that he stayed beside Kaguya Otsutsuki, reaching to grip her neck. Akihara Kagura forcibly grasped her neck, grabbing it and pressing her down from the sky into the desert. Being slammed down by her neck would be too humiliating for Kaguya Otsutsuki. "Watch out!" Black Zetsu's warning always came a step too late. Kaguya Otsutsuki raised her hand, opening a pitch-black portal beneath her, and her figure fell directly into it. This was her Kekkei Genkai, the Yamatsu Harasaka. This technique could easily open portals, allowing her to move freely between dimensions, saving more chakra compared to a Menemenaka. The rabbit goddess activated Yamatsu Harasaka to escape from the desert space. At the moment, she might have fallen into a humiliating state. At the same time, Kaguya Otsutsuki's figure appeared in an ice dimension. She looked up at the pitch-black portal in the sky, which was closing with no one coming out from it. She slowly sighed in relief. "Didn't follow me?" Kaguya Otsutsuki turned to look at an ice mountain. The ice mountain was like a mirror, reflecting her current appearance with a trace of lingering fear on the face of the woman in the ice mirror. However, in the ice mirror, behind the woman, eerily stood a young man with a smile. The scene looked extremely terrifying, like finding a stranger with a creepy smile standing by your bed in the middle of the night. "I arrived a little earlier than you." Akihara Kagura extended his finger, indicating. Like a ghost, he had also appeared in the ice dimension, causing both Kaguya Otsutsuki and Black Zetsu to tremble in fear. "Mother, be careful!" Black Zetsu warned Kaguya Otsutsuki in terror. "Too late, isn't it?" Akihara Kagura gave a light laugh, swung his fist, and struck Kaguya Otsutsuki's body. The rabbit goddess, unable to react in time, was directly thrown onto the iceberg. As Kaguya Otsutsuki's body touched the iceberg, she instantly merged into the ice as if she were passing through a wall. This was natural integration. Kaguya Otsutsuki's body could merge directly into any natural environment, using it to launch attacks. Countless sharp ice spikes emerged from the ground like earth spikes. The attack was lethal. Numerous sharp ice cones fell from the sky, dense and heavy like rain. The temperature suddenly plummeted, turning the entire ice space freezing cold. The wind and hail from the sky completely submerged Akihara Kagura's body, instantly forming a glacier that buried him within it. In this terrifyingly cold glacier, Akihara Kagura was frozen like a prehistoric creature, unable to move. Crack! Crack! A fissure slowly opened on the glacier. Akihara Kagura instantly shattered the entire glacier. His palm glowed red like magma as he raised it to the sky. In the next moment, that red magma rapidly expanded. The entire ice space seemed to host a magma-like planet, which exploded, showering the icy world with magma rain. "Let's go!" Kaguya Otsutsuki raised her hand to activate the Yamatsu Harasaka, quickly opening a dark space-time gate within the iceberg, and fled to another space. This was a magma-filled space. The magma flowed quietly through the canyon, with no footholds for humans in this space. The bubbling magma on the ground emitted heat that could be felt even when hovering above. This space, it felt somewhat ominous, because she had been forced here by the magma rain in the ice space. Black Zetsu glanced around the magma space, cautiously saying, "Akihara Kagura excels in lava release. This space should be ineffective against him." "It's right," a voice answered in place of Kaguya Otsutsuki. This guy had pursued them relentlessly. "Mother!" Black Zetsu immediately warned Kaguya, "I see it." Kaguya Otsutsuki instantly controlled the magma in this space to form a giant, directing it to grab Akihara Kagura floating above her. Akihara Kagura spread his palm and an ice spike appeared, striking the magma giant's chest. Surprisingly, the ice spike did not melt, but instead froze the magma giant, with the ice spreading as if to freeze the entire magma world. The magma space and ice space seemed to reverse. However, in any space, Kaguya Otsutsuki's abilities were suppressed by Akihara Kagura, preventing her from using nature to stop his pursuit. No matter what, she might not be able to escape. Yamatsu Harasaka's space-time gate opened again. This time, Kaguya Otsutsuki didn't escape but raised her right hand, with gray bone spikes like those of Shiketsamiyaku emerging from her back, one piercing from her hand. In the next moment, Kaguya Otsutsuki's right hand reached into the space-time gate, opening another dark space-time gate behind Akihara Kagura. Kaguya Otsutsuki, like a sinister assassin, used the Yamatsu Harasaka and all-killing ash bones to attempt a sneak attack on Akihara Kagura. Really? Akihara Kagura seemed oblivious to the space-time gate and the sharp all-killing ash bones behind him, still smiling. Naive! Akihara Kagura's face showed a mocking expression as he swiftly dodged the all-killing ash bones from the dark space-time gate, grabbing the pale hand releasing the bones. Ah! Kaguya Otsutsuki never expected this. Akihara Kagura twisted her wrist, breaking the all-killing ash bone spike, and thrust it back into the pale hand. Mother, don't conserve chakra. Black Zetsu gritted his teeth, solemnly reminding, if he seizes your chakra, everything will be lost. Amena-Minaka, Kaguya Otsutsuki's Rin Sharingan trembled, using Amena-Minaka to escape the space, not daring to use the chakra-saving Yamatsu Harasaka. Amena-Minaka was faster than Yamatsu Harasaka. However, using Amena-Minaka to instantly transfer to another space consumed much more chakra, unlike the effortless Yamatsu Harasaka. Huff! Huff! Kaguya Otsutsuki panted in another space. This panting wasn't from chakra exhaustion, she never got tired, but from fear. This couldn't continue. She felt like prey, constantly evading a hunter's pursuit. Black Zetsu, seeing Kaguya Otsutsuki's fear, softly comforted, Mother, don't worry. We can deplete each other's chakra, but we can replenish through the ninjas in the infinite Tsukiyomi. Black Zetsu's words made sense. In ordinary ninja battles, his idea wasn't wrong. However, Kaguya Otsutsuki, after a moment of silence, shook her head, admitting a harsh truth. Not enough. Even those humans in the infinite Tsukiyomi, even if the combined chakras of those humans and hers were added together, they still wouldn't compare to the immense chakra within Akihara Kagura. Battle! I am not his equal. Kaguya Otsutsuki didn't know how to describe the combat experience and skills of the two. She merely furrowed her brows slightly and brought up another difficulty she faced. Indeed, their combat skills are worlds apart. Kaguya Otsutsuki, her techniques and battle experience are far from sufficient. If her chakra couldn't surpass that of Akihara Kagura, she might still find a way to turn the tide with combat experience and powerful techniques. Unluckily, these are precisely the strengths of Akihara Kagura. What's more troublesome is, Black Zetsu is also not skilled in these areas. Over the millennia, Black Zetsu had been scheming and manipulating events, trying to create a pair of Rinnegan, and never focused on ninja combat. After all, Black Zetsu never believed anyone could rival Kaguya Otsutsuki. Now, someone suddenly appeared who could contend with Kaguya Otsutsuki, leaving Black Zetsu at a loss for how to fight. It always believed Kaguya Otsutsuki's power could crush the ninja world and never considered the possibility of Kaguya being at a disadvantage. Now, what should it do? Wait! Black Zetsu, observing the space they escaped to, suddenly felt something was off. Mother, I remember this space is a super-gravity space. Kaguya Otsutsuki softly answered. This is a super-gravity space where Kaguya can adjust the gravity at will, but everyone, including Kaguya herself, would be constrained by it. Run! Black Zetsu hastily urged Kaguya, terrified. That guy is as fast as light. He is skilled in space-time techniques, and this super-gravity space will only restrict you. How could it be? A voice softly reassured them, as if afraid of scaring them. Actually, the constraints of this super-gravity space affect us all equally. In here, my speed won't be that fast either. Then, Black Zetsu finally felt a bit relieved. The next moment, Black Zetsu felt its mind go blank. How could Akihara Kagura's voice suddenly be here? If previously he followed through Kaguya's Yamatsu Harasaka space-time portal, it would be understandable. But even Amena-Minaka couldn't buy them much time. Kaguya Otsutsuki was even more startled than Black Zetsu, her figure immediately darting into a pitch-black space-time portal. Origin space. This is Kaguya's original space. This space connects to other spaces and lacks any natural elements, making it the first space where Akihara Kagura and Kaguya appeared in Amena-Minaka. As soon as a pitch-black space-time portal opened in the origin space, Kaguya's figure hurriedly floated in, nearly stumbling as she landed. Fortunately, someone caught her. This kind person helped her stabilize her stance. "Be careful, don't fall! Tha!" Kaguya Otsutsuki's body instantly stiffened. In Kaguya's sight, she saw Akihara Kagura smiling warmly. The instigator looked at her as if she were prey that had voluntarily jumped into a trap. Sure enough, in this space, how could there be anyone else? How could there be anyone else? This space contains only her, the prey, and a hunter chasing her. This hunter is always a step ahead of her. Whether in Menemenaka or Yamatsu Harasaka, she is always a step slower than this man, always seeming like prey jumping into a trap. This space of a Menemenaka clearly belongs to her. This is Mother's world. Black Zetsu's voice was somewhat hoarse, unable to articulate well. It straightforwardly asked, "Even in this space we can't escape your pursuit. Would you like to hear a story?" Akihara Kagura stood beside Kaguya, speaking with interest. "This is a very old story about a race between a lion and a rabbit." Black Zetsu was startled. Although Akihara Kagura had just begun the story, Black Zetsu, having lived in the ninja world for thousands of years, had heard of the tortoise and the hare race. It could understand Akihara Kagura's implication, where a tortoise had relatives posing at every checkpoint, scaring the hare into thinking the tortoise was always faster. The Akihara Kaguras in those spaces! Black Zetsu immediately understood why they were always a step behind. All of them were your pre-arranged clones. No. Akihara Kagura shook his head regretfully, seemingly disappointed that Black Zetsu missed the point. "I just meant to say the rabbit is destined to be caught by the lion." "Are you messing with me?" Black Zetsu listened to Akihara Kagura's words, feeling once again that this guy was toying with it. It had thought Akihara Kagura used some skill to always stay one step ahead of them. Turns out, this guy was relying on his massive chakra. Black Zetsu! Kaguya Otsutsuki took a deep breath, her voice cold as she stopped Black Zetsu from arguing endlessly with Akihara Kagura. "There's no need to say any more now." Kaguya Otsutsuki fully realized the reality of the situation. Now she couldn't escape the chase using a Menemenaka, nor could she fight Akihara Kagura with it. In the end, it would still come down to the most primal form of combat. Even if her chakra wasn't as abundant as Akihara Kagura's. Even if her fighting skills and experience were inferior to Akihara Kagura's. Kaguya Otsutsuki was unwilling to simply hand over her chakra. Numerous purple chakra fists emerged from her back, and sharp bone spikes of all-killing ash bones suddenly sprouted from her body. With the Menemenaka now useless, she was fully prepared to engage in a battle of all-out strength. Akihara Kagura slowly clasped his fingers, his arm twisted abruptly, and numerous white chakra hands appeared behind him. All-killing ash bone spikes also emerged from his body. He had the same Kekemora as Kaguya Otsutsuki. Perfect! Let's first deal with the biggest prey and give the other prey time to gather. Akihara Kagura's figure suddenly rushed towards Kaguya Otsutsuki, transforming into a beam of gray-white gold light and appearing abruptly before her. "I see it!" Veins bulged on Kaguya Otsutsuki's face as she saw Akihara Kagura's golden light-like figure, but at that moment she couldn't keep up with his movements. Bang! Kaguya Otsutsuki's body was knocked flying. Bone spikes scattered from her body, attempting to stop Akihara Kagura's pursuit. However, the golden light mysteriously slipped through the gaps between the all-killing ash bones, reappearing beside Kaguya again. In the next moment, Kaguya Otsutsuki's arm was suddenly pierced by Akihara Kagura's bone spike. The progenitor of chakra did not die under the all-killing ash bones. Her body was inherently immortal, and even Kekemora couldn't kill her. However, this brought her immense trouble. A mass of white substance emerged from Kaguya Otsutsuki's body, quickly flowing from her wound and even starting to spread over her body. "Mother!" Black Zetsu hurriedly tried to warn his mother. "Is it because you just revived and can't control your chakra?" "No, it's just right." The white substance on Kaguya Otsutsuki's body rapidly covered her, and she spoke coldly and indifferently. "In a human form, I'm no match for him." So, she wouldn't use a human form anymore. The white substance on Kaguya Otsutsuki's body expanded rapidly, covering her completely in an instant, transforming this rabbit goddess into a monstrous rabbit. This was an enormous rabbit with a noticeable rin sharing it on its forehead, and its entire body was the same color as white Zetsu. This was Kaguya Otsutsuki's tailed beast transformation. The transformation of the 10 tails Jinchuriki into a tailed beast. Numerous white hands emerged from the rabbit's body, all reaching for Akihara Kagura. These white hands had a strong absorption ability, capable of quickly absorbing the opponent's chakra like white Zetsu. A silvery white complete body Suzuno suddenly rose from Akihara Kagura's body. After the qualitative change in chakra, this Susanoo had undergone an earth-shattering transformation, soaring 1,000 meters high in the Kaguya's dimension. The blade flashed. Akihara Kagura manipulated Susanoo to draw the samurai sword. With the swing of that sword, dozens of white lights dazzled the eyes, and the enormous Susanoo slashed dozens of times with its giant blade. In the next moment, all the hands extended by the 10 tails transformed rabbit were cut off. Akihara Kagura manipulated Susanoo to charge forward abruptly, cutting into countless pieces the hands that tried to reach him, the blade pointing directly at the head of the 10 tails. Ah! The 10 tails roared, spitting out a massive tailed beast ball. Akihara Kagura manipulated Susanoo to swing the sharp blade, slicing the tailed beast ball in half. The split-tailed beast ball exploded in an instant within the Kaguya's dimension. The entire Kaguya's dimension trembled. Roar! Seeing that the tailed beast ball was useless, a black truth-seeking ball emerged directly from the back of the 10 tails transformed rabbit. All chakra of those trapped by infinite Tsukuyomi was absorbed into the Kaguya's dimension, and it wanted to use that chakra to unleash a world-destroying ninjutsu. Expansive truth-seeking ball, this technique could destroy a world. Akihara Kagura raised his fingers, and a similarly massive expansive truth-seeking ball gathered behind the white Susanoo. He could also use this technique. However, Akihara Kagura's expansive truth-seeking ball transformed into a giant black sword in an instant. The white Susanoo reached out and grasped the black sword, suddenly slashing it towards the expansive truth-seeking ball behind the 10 tails. Boom! The explosion was deafening. The yet-to-be-formed expansive truth-seeking ball was directly detonated with one slash. The entire Kaguya's dimension began to crack inch by inch, seemingly unable to withstand this level of explosion. Even the premature explosion of an expansive truth-seeking ball was enough to destroy the world. The 10 tails was somewhat embarrassed, affected by the aftershock of the truth-seeking ball explosion. Its body was covered with pitted wounds, and the giant white rabbit fell to the ground in a sorry state. Just as it was about to make another move, a white Susanoo wielding a black sword appeared in front of it, raising the sword to point at its head. "This ends here, outsider!" Just when victory seemed assured, a figure glowing with blue light suddenly appeared under the black sword. With the appearance of this figure, a Susanoo over 1,000 meters tall, radiating blue light, suddenly manifested, and a blue katana intercepted the black sword that was about to slay the 10 tails rabbit. The black giant sword controlled by Akihara Kagura's white Susanoo was formed from truth-seeking balls, which only 6 paths-level ninjas could touch. It was obvious. The identity of the newcomer was now clear. "I have long heard of you, Sage of 6 Paths." Standing within the crystal of Susanoo, Akihara Kagura slightly furrowed his brow and manipulated his Susanoo to withdraw while holding the black giant sword. The newcomer was none other than the Sage of 6 Paths, Hagoromo Otsutsuki. This Sage of 6 Paths had gathered the chakra of all ninjas over the millennium, not only finding the space where Kaguya Otsutsuki was hiding, but also regaining the strength to fight. Back then, the Sage of 6 Paths had scattered his chakra across the ninja world like sowing seeds, and these seeds had greatly rewarded him 1,000 years later. Human reproduction brought immense energy. Even the Sage of 6 Paths had to admit that the chakra gathered by countless ninjas over the millennium not only allowed his remaining chakra to continue to exist, but also enabled him to surpass his mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki, and find the space of the Amenamenaka with ease. Fortunately, he arrived just in time. The Sage of 6 Paths felt a bit relieved in his heart. If he had been a step late and Kaguya's chakra had been taken by Akihara Kagura, it would have meant that he might not have been able to deal with Akihara Kagura. "Hagoromo!" Kaguya Otsutsuki's voice appeared in the ears of the Sage of 6 Paths. Upon seeing the manifestation of the remaining chakra of the Sage of 6 Paths, Kaguya immediately withdrew from the 10 tails transformation. She looked at the blue Susanoo that had defeated her a millennium ago and at the aged face of the Sage of 6 Paths, feeling a sense of being in a different era. No, this was truly being in a different era. "So you've aged this much, even. Only that little bit of chakra remains." Kaguya could see the state of the Sage of 6 Paths. Now he was merely maintaining his spirit body with massive amounts of chakra. The image of Hagoromo stirred complex emotions in Kaguya. She hated and was angry at her child for sealing her, yet she felt a bit of pity for him ending up in such a state, even feeling a bit ashamed. "Mother!" Hagoromo's expression remained very calm, because even in ancient times, when he was still a young man, Hagoromo possessed a maturity and wisdom beyond his years, having long broken free from the constraints of familial thinking. "Hagoromo, you are indeed still here." Black Zetsu angrily scolded upon seeing Hagoromo's appearance. If it weren't for you and Hamura sealing Mother to rule the ninja world, this situation wouldn't have arisen. Mother wouldn't have been defeated by an outsider. All of this was Hagoromo's fault. If Kaguya hadn't been sealed, she could have continued to cultivate the god tree, making its power stronger and her own power greater. Now, everyone could sense how powerful Akihara Kagura was. It seems. You knew I would appear. Hagoromo ignored Black Zetsu and focused his gaze on Akihara Kagura, still most concerned about him. My remaining chakra has continued to exist in the ninja world, also under your observation. The powers of chakra are myriad and strange. Even a little residual chakra can be useful. Akihara Kagura didn't deny it, proactively speaking. I only killed Naruto and Sasuke, these two reincarnations of chakra, letting them see you at the boundary between life and death. Didn't Sasuke bring you a message then? Truly terrifying. The Sage of Six Paths stared intently at Akihara Kagura, his expression extremely serious. Someone like you possesses such unparalleled power and has strategies and wisdom that no one can perceive. The Sage of Six Paths' expression grew more solemn, and he asked in a deep voice, I'm almost worried that gathering all the chakra of the ninja world over 1,000 years to confront you is also within your calculations. This question immediately made the atmosphere heavy. Akihara Kagura looked at the Sage of Six Paths' expression and suddenly smiled. Don't doubt your thoughts, because my pursuit of Kaguya during this time was to give you this opportunity. A trace of unease appeared on the face of the Sage of Six Paths, because based on Akihara Kagura's past actions, any scheme he set in motion was bound to succeed, and no one could escape his schemes. Could it be that he was no exception? However, you truly did not disappoint me. Akihara Kagura looked at the Sage of Six Paths and chuckled lightly before speaking up to praise him. Your strength now even exceeds my expectations. I don't have the confidence to defeat you. How about we have a proper chat first? Sage of Six Paths, haven't you always been worried about Kaguya? Akihara Kagura controlled the white Susanoo to raise the black giant sword, pointing distantly at Kaguya Otsutsuki. I will help you eliminate Kaguya completely to prevent her from resurrecting again in the future. To make someone your superior, their strength must be formidable enough. Akihara Kagura originally gave the Sage of Six Paths time to gather chakra and become stronger. After all, the remaining chakra of the Sage of Six Paths was even enough to summon past cages from the Pure Land. I will not trust you again. The Sage of Six Paths stared at Akihara Kagura's smile, knowing he had likely guessed correctly, and his heart sank completely. No one in the entire ninja world will trust you again, whether they are alive or dead. Akihara Kagura's brows furrowed slightly. System prompt. No one in this world is suitable to become the host's superior. System hidden prompt. The first test employment of the work hard and you'll surely be appreciated by leader system has been completed. The host has learned how to select the right superior and how to leave the wrong company. Test rewards have been issued. Note, an excellent worker must learn to choose the most suitable enterprise and superior for themselves. More than 50% of workers cannot determine how to choose the right superior or how to leave the wrong company. System prompt. The host can choose to leave this world in a safe area at any time. Once they leave this world, they will proceed to the second worker test, and all powers and systems obtained in this world will be retained. When Akihara Kagura was initially forced to load the system provided him with two ways to leave the ninja world. The first method was to be expelled from the entire ninja world, and the second was to destroy the entire world. Looking at the results now, it seems both methods led to the same outcome, making it so that no one in this world could become Akihara Kagura's superior. Kaguya Otsutsuki and Black Zetsu, the two potential superiors, have been removed. It is certain that no one in the ninja world believes Akihara Kagura would be their subordinate. Neither the living nor the dead would think this otherworldly hunter would be willing to act as someone's subordinate. The only hope left to be a superior, the Sage of Six Paths, has also chosen to refuse. Sage of Six Paths doesn't even want to give it a chance. Is this being expelled by the world? A twitch appeared on Akihara Kagura's forehead, feeling something was not quite right. No, this situation feels somewhat familiar. Isn't this just like those workers blacklisted by companies in his previous life? Am I being blacklisted by the ninja world? Summoning technique. The Sage of Six Paths, unaware of Akihara Kagura's thoughts, was still anxious about possibly falling into a trap and raised his hand to summon reinforcements. Tabarama, Uzumaki Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke were all summoned. Have we found them? Uzumaki Naruto stood inside the Susanoo crystal of the Sage of Six Paths. Seeing Akihara Kagura and Kaguya Otsutsuki, he immediately felt relieved. So the next step is to fight, right? The opponent might have some schemes. The Sage of Six Paths looked at the living ninjas present and said in a deep voice, "I have just gathered all the chakra of the ninjas from the past millennium, all within the opponent's scheme. This battle might be tougher than we imagined. I will go communicate with my mother, and we will join forces to eliminate the opponent." More schemes! A group of Konoha ninjas felt their nerves going numb. Hadate Kakashi's eyelids twitched as well. Hadate Kakashi had always been observing Akihara Kagura, as he was the one most familiar with him in Konoha. Seeing Akihara Kagura frowning, he was unsure what he was worried about. After all, Akihara Kagura didn't often frown. Now that he thinks about it, this guy was probably pretending at the time. But, at this moment, this guy seems to be genuinely frowning. Is that guy worried? Hadate Kakashi looked at Akihara Kagura's figure, reminiscing about the past. However, Hadate Kakashi quickly stopped thinking about it. Akihara Kagura's worried expression soon disappeared, as he seemed to have found a way to vent his emotions. Akihara Kagura's gaze locked onto the Sage of Six Paths, controlling the white Susanoo to lift the truth-seeking ball-black sword, pointing it distantly at the Susanoo of the Sage of Six Paths, Kaguya's dimension. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Akihara Kagura's movement. Akihara Kagura controlled the white Susanoo, tightly gripping the black greatsword in its hand. "Prepare for battle!" The Sage of Six Paths had a solemn expression. He looked at Akihara Kagura's figure and said in a deep voice to the people beside him, "In the 1,000-year history of the ninja world, all the ninjas born, whether living or dead, have now placed their hopes on us. We absolutely will not let them down." Uzumaki Naruto clenched his fists tightly. Uchiha Sasuke stood silently beside Uzumaki Naruto, nodding his head. The expressions of Tabarama, Tsunade, and others also became extremely serious as they nodded. They had seen the most important people in their lives. At this moment, they all had no regrets in their hearts. Now, facing Akihara Kagura, they must fight with all their might. An overwhelming battle intent surged from everyone, and their chakras seemed almost tangible. At this moment, they felt stronger than ever before. "Mother!" The Sage of Six Paths raised his palm, looking at Kaguya Otsutsuki floating near the crystal. "Now I understand the fear you faced back then." "Hagoromo!" Kaguya Otsutsuki interrupted the Sage of Six Paths. Tears flowed down her cheeks as she seemed moved by her child's understanding. "I understand what you mean." Kaguya Otsutsuki slowly shook her head, then nodded towards the Sage of Six Paths, her expression calming down. "Hagoromo, I will fight with you." "That's the best outcome." The Sage of Six Paths smiled, letting out a sigh of relief. He initially thought it would take a long time to persuade Kaguya Otsutsuki, but she agreed immediately, indicating that the situation had indeed reached a critical point. "Then let us begin. History will remember this moment. From the time of Chakra's birth, ninjas have fought for 1,000 years. Now, to face our common enemy, all the endless struggles of the past will come to an end at this moment." The Sage of Six Paths looked at Akihara Kagura opposite him and said in a deep voice, "This is unprecedented in the ninja world. Whether it's the progenitor of chakra or ordinary ninjas, everyone's will converges at this moment and will never dissipate. At least, from now on, the ninja world will be aware of threats from beyond." After all, Akihara Kagura, an enemy from beyond, personally revealed that there were always outsiders eyeing the ninja world, and he was just one of them. However, this invader's conspiracy and power almost brought the entire ninja world to the brink of destruction. From now on, the ninjas of the ninja world will surely face their common enemies together. Internal conflicts will cease on this planet, and even if some ambitious individuals try to cause trouble, all forces will be used to resist the threats from beyond. "Perhaps we should thank you this time." The Sage of Six Paths raised his palm, controlling his blue Susanoo to lift its blue greatsword, and charged first at Akihara Kagura. The Sage of Six Paths controlled Susanoo in battle, even with a smile on his face. "If not for your arrival, we wouldn't have realized the threats from beyond, and the ninjas who fought for 1,000 years wouldn't unite at this moment. That is a good thing for you." Akihara Kagura controlled the white Susanoo to meet him, the black greatsword and blue greatsword clashing in the air, sending out massive shockwaves across the Kaguya's dimension. In the next moment, the white Susanoo and blue Susanoo accelerated, their greatswords continuously striking at each other, the blades and shadows wildly flashing in this space. Each slash caused massive rifts in the space. The solid Kaguya's dimension was split open with huge cracks by the strikes. Everyone had to be thankful that this battle was in Kaguya Otsutsuki's Kaguya's dimension. If it were in the ninja world, the entire world might be destroyed by their battle. No one had ever seen such a terrifying battle. Even the fight between Uchiha Madara and Akihara Kagura, though astonishing, was far less intense than the current scene. Two Susanus, each over 1,000 meters tall, fought fiercely in the arena, their hundreds of meters long greatswords wielded with incredible agility, like two master swordsmen dueling. The sound of their clashes was incessant. However, Akihara Kagura seemed to have the upper hand. The white Susanoo rose into the air, wielding the black greatsword formed from truth-seeking balls, and slashed down with immense force, blocked by the blue Susanoo's horizontal sword. In the next moment, the blue glowing greatsword was suddenly split with one slash. Like a martial god, the white Susanoo swung the black greatsword, severing the opponent's weapon and slashing heavily at the opponent's neck. Crack! The Sage of Six Paths Susanoo was about to collapse in an instant. Is it over? Haruno Sakura looked at the approaching black greatsword in horror. As long as the hundreds of meters long black greatsword slashed down, it would decapitate the blue Susanoo. No, this is an opportunity. The Sage of Six Paths maintained his Susanoo, his eyes suddenly becoming serious. He directly controlled the Susanoo to release the broken weapon. In the next moment, the blue Susanoo's hands suddenly closed, tightly gripping the black greatsword. Blue chakra light soared into the sky. Six Paths, Chibaku Tensei! The Sage of Six Paths clasped his hands together, letting out a shout, and his chakra surged wildly. This was the Sage of Six Paths' strongest sealing technique. In the past, his sealing technique alone was insufficient. Now, with the ninja world's 1,000-year chakra, he alone was enough to activate this strongest seal. As the Sage of Six Paths clasped his hands, a terrifying divine figure appeared in the Kaguya's dimension, enveloping the white Susanoo in its clasped hands. The ground of the Kaguya's dimension cracked open. Countless stones flew towards the white Susanoo, wrapping around it. The white Susanoo's body floated up, as if it had become a source of gravity, attracting stones from the ground that adhered tightly to its body. In an instant, its body was encased in a massive stone sphere. This is the sealing technique to imprison Mother. Black Zetsu's voice was eerie and hoarse, his gaze fixed on the stone sphere floating in the sky. Akihara Kagura is also going to be sealed, if all goes as expected. Akihara Kagura, sealed inside, would never be able to break free. Even if it flew into outer space, it would continue to attract meteors to reinforce the seal until it transformed into a gigantic planet. This is the sealing technique. It can also be called a terrifying creation technique. Even space-time techniques cannot escape it. Is the battle over? Tsunade slowly exhaled a sigh of relief. No, not yet. The Sage of Six Paths' gaze turned extremely sharp. The stone sphere in the sky suddenly cracked open, and countless rays of light burst forth from it, slicing through the space of the primordial sphere like sharp blades. The stone sphere exploded in an instant. A war god radiating white light suddenly emerged from the shattered stones, as if born from within the stone sphere. This white war god wielded a black greatsword, slashing directly at the blue Susanoo to split it in two. The blue Susanoo knelt on one knee, grasping the black greatsword tightly. The enormous blade's impact caused its armor to crack, and the ground of the primordial sphere to split open with a deep fissure from the force of the slash. "Let me help!" A green Susanoo instantly appeared. Hadake Kakashi immediately activated the complete Susanoo state, the gift of the Six Paths chakra granting him unprecedented power. The nearly 100-meter tall green Susanoo soared into the sky, encapsulating everyone within its crystal. As the black greatsword fell, it seemed to slash through empty space, passing through the green Susanoo. This was the intangibility effect of the Kamui Sharingan. Even Susanoo can utilize the intangibility ability of the Kamui Sharingan. However, this power does not provide a sense of safety. Kamui Shuriken! Hadake Kakashi, controlling the green Susanoo, did not hesitate. Two enormous black shuriken appeared in its hands, and he hurled them at the white Susanoo, which was more than 10 times its size. One giant Kamui Shuriken was aimed at the white Susanoo's head, while the other targeted its arm. Limited space sealing. Akihara Kagura raised his palm directly. The space-time techniques of the entire primordial sphere were instantly prohibited from use. The two enormous black shuriken were like mosquito bites to the white Susanoo, causing it no pain at all. In the next moment, a tall purple Susanoo also appeared. The primordial sphere had become a chaotic battlefield of Susanoo war gods. Uchiha Sasuke, controlling his purple Susanoo, swiftly emerged. A long purple bow suddenly appeared in the purple Susanoo's hand. A silver-white lightning giant arrow infused with Sage of Six Paths chakra appeared on the bowstring, and the arrow was swiftly aimed at the white Susanoo's head. The white Susanoo raised its free hand, catching the silver-white giant arrow as if grasping a silver needle. Truth-seeking ball shuriken! Uzumaki Naruto raised his palm, and a Narration shuriken with a truth-seeking ball at its core formed in his hand. He hurled it at the white Susanoo's head. Even though he had few truth-seeking balls left, he did not hesitate to use one. 80 Gods Vacuum Attack! Countless purple chakra fists appeared around Kaguya Otsutsuki, and these fists pounded on Akihara Kagura's white Suzuno. Amid everyone's rapid attacks, continuous explosions erupted on the white Suzuno's body, creating clouds of smoke around it. The white war god rampaging on the battlefield finally had to stagger back a step, giving the blue Suzuno a chance to breathe. Sage Art, Yin Release Lightning Dispatch. The Sage of Six Paths controlled the blue Suzuno, and a mass of electricity appeared in its hand, branching out like tree limbs. Compared to Uchiha Madara's Sage Art, Yin Release Lightning Dispatch. The Sage of Six Paths' Yin Release Lightning Dispatch was like the wrath of a true god. The tree-like lightning spread instantly, enveloping the white Suzuno, paralyzing it completely. Sage Art, Storm Release Light Fang. The blue Suzuno opened its mouth and spat out a long, thin bolt of lightning, which turned into a sharp blade, leaving long wounds on the white Suzuno's 1,000-meter-high body, nearly splitting it in two. Now! Seeing the white Suzuno's body torn open, the Sage of Six Paths said in a deep voice. Seeing the white Suzuno's body torn open, the Sage of Six Paths said in a deep voice, "I've broken his defense. Destroy his Suzuno immediately." Understood. Hadate Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke simultaneously controlled their Suzuno to fly up. The nearly 100-meter tall green Suzuno and purple Suzuno rushed into the wound, wildly slashing with their giant katanas. Boom, boom, boom! The white Suzuno disintegrated instantly. Akihara Kagura's body was exposed, unprotected by the Suzuno, and everyone felt a surge of victory. Clap! Akihara Kagura suddenly clasped his hands together. Despite being surrounded by enemies, Akihara Kagura showed no fear. He clasped his hands together, his body emitting a green light. With his actions, the Rinnegan in his eyes transformed into star-like azure blue eyes. Tenseigan Chakra Mode activated. 12 green truth-seeking balls orbited around him. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, and the 12 truth-seeking balls transformed into a golden greatsword. With a single slash, he split Hadate Kakashi's green Suzuno in two. The golden greatsword's momentum continued, slicing through Uchiha Sasuke's purple Suzuno as well. Hadate Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke plummeted to the ground like falling stars. Unable to use space-time techniques, they could only watch helplessly as they fell, knowing the impact would be fatal. Kaguya Otsutsuki looked up at them. 2 strands of long white hair suddenly extended, wrapping around their bodies and placing them on the ground. However, their breathing was obviously unstable, indicating they had been severely injured by a heavy blow. Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion! Akihara Kagura raised his hand, manipulating 12 truth-seeking balls to form a massive golden sword, which he abruptly swung down, splitting the towering blue Suzuno of the Sage of Six Paths in half. In an instant, after breaking through everyone's Suzuno, Akihara Kagura slowly exited the Tenseigan Chakra Mode, reverting to his original form. In a flash, everyone's Suzuno was destroyed by his sheer power alone. The Sage of Six Paths hurriedly spread his arms, controlling gravity to let everyone gently land on the ground, his expression becoming increasingly stern and severe. As soon as Tsunade and Haruno Sakura landed, they quickly appeared beside Hadate Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke to treat their injuries. However, the most important issue now was still how to deal with their enemy. Clearly, at a critical moment, they had gathered everyone's strength and finally, after many hardships, broke through Akihara Kagura's white Suzuno. But Akihara Kagura easily defeated everyone's Suzuno, including that of the Sage of Six Paths, demonstrating his terrifying power to everyone. Even the Sage of Six Paths felt somewhat helpless, looking at the young man standing in the middle of the crowd, unable to think of a way to defeat him. The Six Paths, Chibaku Tensei, was directly broken by force by the opponent. Suzuno was shattered in a single blow by the opponent. Now, even the Sage of Six Paths was at a loss, not knowing how to defeat the enemy. It's almost over. Akihara Kagura walked step by step towards the Sage of Six Paths. No, it's not over yet. The Sage of Six Paths extended his hand. A truth-seeking ball in his hand transformed into a monk's staff, and he swiftly charged at Akihara Kagura, engaging in close combat within an instant. Let's join the fight too! Uzumaki Naruto immediately called for others to charge together. Although their strength might be insufficient, as long as they could distract Akihara Kagura, it would be the greatest help to the Sage of Six Paths. Kaguya Otsutsuki raised her hand instantly, aiming a bone-ash killing bone at Akihara Kagura's back and shot it out swiftly. However, Akihara Kagura's eyes suddenly turned into a deep blue starry sky, and he instantly observed the trajectory of the sneak attack. Akihara Kagura kicked the Sage of Six Paths away, and several black truth-seeking balls in his hands transformed into black rods, directly pinning the Sage of Six Paths to the ground. Akihara Kagura's speed was astonishingly fast. He turned around, grabbed the incoming bone ash killing bone, and hurled it back at Kaguya Otsutsuki. "Mother!" Black Zetsu quickly warned his mother. However, a figure appeared in front of Kaguya Otsutsuki, shielding her from the bone ash killing bone, which turned the figure into ashes. That was Uzumaki Naruto. "This is Asura!" Kaguya Otsutsuki saw through the chakra in the figure at a glance. "It's just a shadow clone!" Uzumaki Naruto saw Kaguya Otsutsuki's momentary distraction, thinking she was scared by his death, and quickly reminded her that it was only a shadow clone. However, Uzumaki Naruto could only save once. Two black rods flew towards Kaguya Otsutsuki, piercing her shoulders and pinning her to the ground, rendering her immobile. Now, the strongest Sage of Six Paths and Kaguya Otsutsuki were directly restrained on the spot. Hate Kakashi and Uchiha Sasuke were still injured, leaving only Uzumaki Naruto, Orochimaru, Tsunade, Haruno Sakura, and Tabarama. Unfortunately, everyone knew they couldn't be a match for Akihara Kagura. Despair loomed over everyone present, who had initially thought that breaking Akihara Kagura's Susanoo would put them on equal footing. However, in his normal human form, Akihara Kagura completely overpowered them. His formidable taijutsu and keen battle observation far surpassed everyone present. The only one who could possibly contend with him was Uchiha Madara, who had long become a sacrificial pawn for Kaguya's resurrection. Nevertheless, no one in this world would ever submit. "I'll hold him off!" Uzumaki Naruto leaped into the air, facing Akihara Kagura, and hurriedly said, "Sage of Six Paths, think of another way quickly." No matter how strong Akihara Kagura was, Uzumaki Naruto was the person who would never give up. He raised his fingers abruptly, and countless shadow clones appeared behind him. Multi-shadow clone technique. A group of shadow clones leaped into the air, rushing towards Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, releasing a ball of chakra laced with lightning from his palm, transforming into countless Chidori Senbon, instantly turning into long spears that pinned countless shadow clones to the ground. However, Uzumaki Naruto's shadow clones were like an army. Hundreds and thousands of golden Uzumaki Narutos charged at Akihara Kagura, trying to use their lives to prevent him from attacking others. "This fool!" Uchiha Sasuke stood up, not wanting to see Uzumaki Naruto fight alone, and he didn't believe that these shadow clones could pose any threat to Akihara Kagura. Even Uzumaki Naruto's real body was no match for Akihara Kagura, let alone these easily shattered shadow clones. At that moment, the voice of the Sage of Six Paths echoed through the space. "Perhaps it's time for this forbidden chakra to come into play." The Sage of Six Paths manipulated his truth-seeking balls, pulling out the black rods that pinned him, and his gaze gradually deepened. "I'll try to use another method to deal with him. The rest is up to you all." The rest referred to future potential enemies. "Sage of Six Paths, what are you going to do?" Uchiha Sasuke looked at the Sage of Six Paths, who began to float again. The Sage of Six Paths gradually calmed his expression, his gaze fixed on Akihara Kagura, who was fighting Uzumaki Naruto. "I will exhaust all the power of this chakra to launch the largest-scale Chibaku Tensei and completely seal him." But Tabarama objected, recalling how Akihara Kagura's Susanoo had directly broken through a Chibaku Tensei. "That technique may not be able to seal him. The ocular powers of the Rinnegan are unique." The Sage of Six Paths shook his head and spoke in a deep voice. "The longer I prepare the technique, the more chakra it consumes and the greater its power. I need some time to prepare." During this time, the Sage of Six Paths' gaze fell on those around him, speaking in a deep voice. "I need you all to delay as much as possible. Sasuke, I need you to use Chibaku Tensei on him at the critical moment to help me target the release." "Understood." Uchiha Sasuke quickly nodded. "One more thing." The Sage of Six Paths glanced at his mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki, his voice heavy as he lowered it. "If I exhaust my chakra to deal with Akihara Kagura, Mother might still see the ninja world as her seedbed. Naruto and I will take care of her." Uchiha Sasuke looked deeply at Kaguya Otsutsuki. During this battle, Uchiha Sasuke had seen both Kaguya Otsutsuki's strength and her weaknesses. As long as they found an opportunity, he and Naruto could also handle Kaguya. "I will also try to find an opportunity." The Sage of Six Paths shook his head and spoke in a deep voice, "to seal Mother and him together. As for any future issues in the ninja world, I'll leave them to you all." "I understand." Uchiha Sasuke slowly nodded. Unaware of this, Kaguya Otsutsuki had Black Zetsu emerge from her sleeve to remove the black rod of the truth-seeking orb from her shoulder. Kaguya Otsutsuki then flew toward Akihara Kagura to assist Uzumaki Naruto. A strand of her white hair wrapped around the beleaguered Uzumaki Naruto, throwing him aside, while other strands of her hair suddenly wrapped around Akihara Kagura's body. Akihara Kagura raised his hand, and a black sword formed from a truth-seeking orb appeared in his hand. The black sword flashed, cutting through Kaguya Otsutsuki's hair. Akihara Kagura lifted his sword and charged. Kaguya Otsutsuki immediately condensed her all-killing ash bones, wielding the bone spikes to fend off Akihara Kagura's attack. She fought desperately, using her Byakugan and clumsy combat skills to fight against Akihara Kagura. After all, she had nowhere to escape. All possible allies in the ninja world were present. The Sage of Six Paths watched the battle between Kaguya Otsutsuki and Akihara Kagura, his chakra quickly mobilizing. At this moment, his hands slowly closed together and chakra rapidly gathered in his palms. As the Sage of Six Paths gathered chakra, his body gradually became somewhat transparent, a sign that his remaining chakra was about to be exhausted. "Sasuke!" the Sage of Six Paths sternly called out, raising his voice to summon Uchiha Sasuke. "Understood!" Uchiha Sasuke abruptly raised his hand, and the sixth Tamo Rinnegan in his eye flashed with a brilliant light. At this moment, he suddenly activated Chibaku Tensei. Compared to others Chibaku Tensei, Uchiha Sasuke's could directly center on the person he wanted to seal, quickly trapping the enemy. As Uchiha Sasuke took action, Kaguya Otsutsuki and Akihara Kagura, who were engaged in combat, were simultaneously wrapped and sealed by stones from the ground. The Sage of Six Paths' body floated up, raising one hand toward the soon-to-be-sealed Kaguya Otsutsuki and Akihara Kagura. "Wait!" Black Zetsu saw the Sage of Six Paths' actions and hurriedly tried to warn him. "Hagoromo, your mother hasn't left the seal's range yet." "Sorry." The Sage of Six Paths shook his head and spoke in a deep voice. "If possible, please leave the tailed beasts behind, mother. When the next crisis comes, future generations can revive you." As a deity of the ninja world, the Sage of Six Paths always considered the world's future. This move was nothing short of ingenious. As long as the tailed beasts and the Rinnegan existed, Kaguya could be resurrected when needed. This provided the ninja world with hope to face threats from beyond. In this way, Kaguya couldn't stay and use the ninja world as her seedbed, because the progenitor of chakra, Kaguya Otsutsuki, would remain sealed until the next crisis in the ninja world, ready to be revived by future generations, a double benefit. "You bastard!" Black Zetsu immediately understood the Sage of Six Paths' plan and couldn't help but curse. "You and Hamura betrayed Mother back then, causing today's problems. Now you still want to seal Mother and use her as a tool to protect the ninja world." Kaguya Otsutsuki's body involuntarily floated up, ignoring the enemy Akihara Kagura nearby, and looked down at her son. The Sage of Six Paths' gaze was unprecedentedly calm, like a true deity, devoid of any emotion. The Sage of Six Paths. This was the title given to him by the people of the ninja world. The people revered him as a god, and thus he became a true deity, one who only considered the well-being of the ninja world. "Hagoromo, is that what you think?" Kaguya Otsutsuki looked at her son, seemingly understanding his intentions. She watched as his body gradually disappeared and reached out her hand. A ball of chakra flew from her palms, landing on the Sage of Six Paths' body, making his gradually transparent form solidify again. "Mother!" The Sage of Six Paths was puzzled. "If that's the case, continue to live on. Our battle will never end." Kaguya Otsutsuki's expression instantly turned cold. Black Zetsu flowed from her sleeve like liquid, and the chakra of the tailed beasts quickly detached from her body, forming the 9 tailed beasts. "Interesting." A mysterious smile appeared on Akihara Kagura's lips. In the next moment, countless stones stuck firmly to Otsutsuki Kaguya and Akihara Kagura, sealing them within a stone sphere. Uchiha Sasuke raised his hand and sternly reminded, "Sage of Six Paths, hurry up! They can break free at any moment." "I understand." The Sage of Six Paths placed his hands on the stone sphere and let out a low shout. "Six Paths, Chibaku Tensei!" This Chibaku Tensei was powered by the chakra of all ninjas over 1,000 years. The entire primordial sphere space began to tremble violently. Stones flew up from the ground, tightly adhering to Sasuke's Chibaku Tensei. Under the double Chibaku Tensei seal, within seconds, a sphere far larger than the moon appeared before everyone. The sphere soon caused a rift in the primordial space, flying directly towards the outer space of the ninja world, attracting meteors along the way. "We need to leave." Sage of Six Paths looked at the collapsing primordial sphere space and turned to Hade Kakashi. "Can you use your space-time technique now?" "Yes." Hade Kakashi transported everyone into the Kamui dimension, including the 9-tailed beasts and Black Zetsu. Utilizing Kamui, they escaped through the rift opened by the Chibaku Tensei. Back in the real world, over the ocean, many souls of the deceased were still waiting here. When they saw Kakashi appear, their hearts tightened, thinking he was the only survivor. Fortunately, Kakashi wasted no time and quickly released everyone from the Kamui dimension, revealing that all the ninjas who participated in the battle had survived. The major crisis of the ninja world finally ended at that moment. "Hagoromo, you bastard!" Black Zetsu, looking at the ethereal figure of the Sage of Six Paths, couldn't help but curse. "You even sealed Mother away. Should we kill it?" Sasuke's gaze turned cold. "No, let it live." The Sage of Six Paths shook his head, watching Black Zetsu's angry face turn to fear, calmly saying, "We might need it to revive Mother if another crisis arises in the future. At least, the threat from beyond the heavens is now resolved." The Sage of Six Paths looked up at the sky, watching the massive sphere slowly drift into outer space. The ocean waves were stirred by the gravitational pull of the sphere, making it clear that the enemies sealed inside could not break free. For now, at least the chakra of the gathered 1,000-year-old ninjas wasn't wasted. "Infinite Tsukuyomi, release!" Sasuke raised his finger. With his motion, the infinite Tsukuyomi across the ninja world was dispelled, the tendrils of the god tree withered away, and everyone awoke from the dream-like state as if they had experienced a very long dream. This crisis could finally be declared over. The crisis brought by Black Zetsu's infinite Tsukuyomi and Ikehara Kagura's hunt were both resolved with the dispelling of the infinite Tsukuyomi. The Sage of Six Paths returned to the gap between the netherworld and the real world, awaiting the next crisis. The souls of the ninja world also returned to the netherworld. After the crisis, the 5 great ninja villages did not disband their allied forces but remained united, wary of future threats. No one knew when the next crisis might come. No one was sure if another Ikehara Kagura would appear in the world, in Konoha village, inside the Konoha orphanage. Yakashi Nano was still busy with the many children she had to care for. However, Yakashi Kabuto's mental state seemed to be deteriorating, unable to believe that Ikehara Kagura was truly an enemy from beyond the heavens who saw everyone as prey. Kabuto repeatedly wiped his glasses, refusing to believe what he heard from others. "Nano, before Kagura's plan was truly implemented, he removed us, not wanting us to be viewed as enemies by others. But didn't you?" Yakashi Nano adjusted her glasses and softly asked. "I heard you stole a piece of bark from him, knowing about his plan to destroy the world and wanting to hand it over to Lady Tsunade. Everything you did was part of his plan. But—" Kabuto put on his glasses, unable to prevent the fogging of his lenses, his voice turning grim. "That bark was given to me by Kagura himself. He told me what to do. But I knew it was the only way not to be seen as an enemy by others." Yakashi Nano remained silent. "Kagura wanted to leave this world long ago." Kabuto looked up at the sky, seemingly searching for the star where Ikehara Kagura was sealed. "In truth, Kagura never wanted to destroy this world or kill anyone. Otherwise, he wouldn't have arranged everything for us." Kabuto's expression grew serious, and he solemnly said, "I want to try to unseal Kagura to rescue him from the Chibaku Tensei." "Kabuto!" Yakashi Nano urgently stopped him. "Dean!" Kabuto looked at Yakashi Nano, speaking softly. "Do you remember? Kagura once sacrificed himself to prevent Danzo from assassinating us. Such things have happened before. He might have sacrificed himself for the peace of the ninja world." Outside the Konoha orphanage, the 2 figures who had been quietly listening fell into silence together. Uchiha Sasuke was dressed in the uniform of the Root, bringing Orochimaru with him to rebuild the organization. He wanted to invite Yakashi Kabuto to join them, but unexpectedly he heard Kabuto reveal these secrets at this moment. Could this be an Ikehara Kagura's conspiracy? Orochimaru frowned slightly, his mind involuntarily wandering. At that time, he might have set up a contingency plan in case of his failure before initiating his plot, tricking us into unsealing him. This possibility is very high. Uchiha Sasuke furrowed his brows. All these ninjas had experienced Ikehara Kagura's multiple conspiracies and could not bear to be deceived again, fearing they might fall into Ikehara Kagura's trap once more. There was no other reason. They were genuinely afraid. To be honest, rather than risking being deceived again, it was more reassuring to keep Ikehara Kagura sealed. Ikehara Kagura was too dangerous. They really did not dare to take such a risk again. "Exactly!" A familiar voice appeared behind Uchiha Sasuke and Orochimaru, softly advising them, "Be careful not to be deceived again." The voice sounded so familiar. It was so familiar that Uchiha Sasuke and Orochimaru both had a stress response, their bodies instinctively trembling as they turned around in disbelief. "Ikehara Kagura!" Uchiha Sasuke's heart began to race. You've got to be kidding. Why is this guy here, and how could such deceiving words come out of his mouth? This guy is clearly the most terrifying conspirator in the ninja world, and he's even deceiving them now. Wasn't this guy sealed by the Sage of Six Paths? However, Akihara Kagura stood right in front of them, as if nothing from the past had ever happened, and there were even some familiar people standing beside him. Karin, White Zetsuoi, even Kaguya Otsutsuki, who had been sealed with Akihara Kagura, appeared here as well. You all came to the orphanage too. Akihara Kagura greeted them as if nothing had happened, even very politely. It's been a few days, Sasuke Orochimaru-sama. You! Uchiha Sasuke immediately tensed up, his hand instinctively reaching for his ninja sword. Weren't you sealed? Don't draw your sword. You're not my match. Akihara Kagura pushed Uchiha Sasuke against the wall with a backhand, pressing down on Sasuke's hand with his foot, forcing his sword back into its sheath. Uchiha Sasuke couldn't break free at all. All right. I'm not here to fight. Akihara Kagura patted Sasuke's head and ruffled his hair, just like many years ago when he was the high-ranking leader of the Root and Sasuke was the little kid who wanted to join him. Uchiha Sasuke looked up at Akihara Kagura, questioning in a deep voice. I'm curious, how did you escape from the Chibaku Tensei seal cast by me and the Sage of Six Paths? Why aren't you curious? Akihara Kagura chuckled softly, surprisingly asking in return, why did I let you and the Sage of Six Paths seal me in the first place? Uchiha Sasuke was shocked. This long-lost fear swept over his heart. This panic, where everything was under Akihara Kagura's control, surfaced once again in Sasuke's heart. Why did this guy willingly get sealed? Because. Orochimaru laughed, seemingly having figured something out, and voluntarily answered. Kagura-kun has never been a heinous villain. Uchiha Sasuke felt like Orochimaru was joking. Sasuke-kun! Orochimaru squinted his eyes and spoke in a low voice. Do you remember how many people Kagura-kun has actually killed? Many! Uchiha Sasuke responded instinctively. The entire ninja world knew that Akihara Kagura had killed many people. Whether it was Kagura attacking the ninja villages of the great nations or single-handedly assaulting the ninja alliance, the number of ninja he killed was countless, right? Plus, he had always been the leader of the Root, so his hands must have been stained with blood. No. Orochimaru shook his head, recalling the information he had reviewed about the ninja alliance, and said in a deep voice, as far as I know, the only large-scale massacre Kagura-kun committed was killing over 100 Grass Village ninja in one blow, indirectly leading to the fall of the Land of Grass. Those scumbags all deserved to die. Karin adjusted her glasses and coldly retorted Orochimaru, seemingly unwilling to hear Orochimaru defending those cannibalistic scum from the Grass Village. Uchiha Sasuke glanced at Karin. Apparently, Sasuke had also heard Karin's story. Karin had never hidden her origins, and many people knew she was from the Land of Grass and had been brought to Konoha by Akihara Kagura. Besides, when Orochimaru got to this point, even he seemed somewhat incredulous. The only large-scale massacre involving Kagura-kun was probably clearing out a group of thugs at a casino. Apart from that, Kagura-kun has almost never killed anyone. No, there's one more. Orochimaru remembered his former ally and said with a smile. For example, Shimura Danzo, who attempted to use Kagura-kun as a tool. As for Kagura-kun's large-scale operations, they always seemed focused on absorbing chakra without any bloodshed. On the contrary, Orochimaru's gaze fell on Akihara Kagura, seemingly with some emotion. The number of people saved by Kagura-kun is actually far more than those he has killed. Uchiha Sasuke looked at Akihara Kagura in astonishment. Akihara Kagura gently clapped his hands, seemingly in appreciation of the detailed data that Orochimaru had obtained. He chuckled and said, Orochimaru-sama truly lives up to being a scientist, even investigating such social data. No, Orochimaru felt unworthy of the praise. He shook his head slightly and said, this hypothesis actually comes from someone you are very familiar with. That person in the infinite Tsukiyomi had a single dream, to see a world of eternal peace without your existence. Yes. This hypothesis came from Akihara Kagura's teacher, Jiraiya. When the infinite Tsukiyomi arrived, Jiraiya voluntarily entered it to provide chakra for Six Paths Madara. In that dream world, he saw a world without Akihara Kagura. But in that world, more people died. Regardless of the Uchiha clan's destruction, the Konoha collapse, or the final battle of the allied ninja forces, countless people died. Even Jiraiya became a casualty to stop Nagato's plan, witnessing the end of the world as a bystander. In that dream world, Jiraiya saw his student Uzumaki Naruto become the child of prophecy and save the world, witnessing his lifelong pursuit come true. However, the dream world suffered heavy losses. Jirya believed that his student, Akihara Kagura, might not be inherently evil, but he couldn't share this hypothesis with more people. He could only confide his experience in the infinite Tsukuyomi to his friend, Orochimaru. Orochimaru didn't want to believe it. But unfortunately, Jirya's hypothesis was true. Being too smart isn't always good. Akihara Kagura smiled and sincerely invited. I've stayed in this world for 15 years and I'm about to start my next journey. Orochimaru-sama, are you interested? Sure. Orochimaru smiled lightly and unexpectedly agreed, even proposing another hypothesis. Kagura-kun, Danzo died by your hand, yet I survived. Is it because I gave you birthday and New Year's gifts every year? You're making it sound like I care about such trivial things. Akihara Kagura waved his hand repeatedly, but the smile on his lips grew deeper. He enjoyed communicating with the clever Orochimaru because Orochimaru always understood his thoughts. Yes. Back when he was alone in Konoha, receiving New Year's greetings and birthday gifts was the most heartwarming thing. I've prepared a companion for you. Akihara Kagura smiled and summoned a familiar figure for Orochimaru. You two were old teammates, so you should get along well, right? Sasori! Orochimaru gritted his teeth as he looked at the figure of Sasori of the Red Sand. Who would have thought Akihara Kagura would make him and Sasori, the old enemies from the Akatsuki organization, become companions? It seems this guy had premeditated using Sasori to monitor him. Fine. Orochimaru shook his head and then smiled. If I'm with my old partner, it's not unacceptable. But I prefer Kabuto as my partner. Speaking of which, Kagura-kun should be able to take Kabuto away as well, right? I won't stop Kabuto and the dean from doing what they want. Akihara Kagura shook his head indifferently and continued. I came here just to take a few things from Kabuto. I heard he reanimated Kinkaku and Jinkaku, so he should have some of the Sage of Six Paths weapons. Does Kagura-kun care about this? Orochimaru looked at Akihara Kagura in surprise. No! Akihara Kagura shook his head and looked at the festively decorated Konoha village outside. I heard the 5 great ninja villages are honoring the heroes who prevented the world's disaster today. When honoring heroes, a few prizes are essential, right? Naruto doesn't need them, right? Uchiha Sasuke frowned. Undoubtedly, the ninjas the world wanted to honor were Uzumaki, Naruto, and Uchiha Sasuke, but Sasuke refused to stand in the spotlight, so the honor naturally belonged to Naruto alone. Moreover, Naruto was now the strongest ninja in the world. The 5 great ninja villages wanted to use this opportunity to honor Naruto and discuss the potential future threats to the world. Did I say I was giving them to him? Akihara Kagura smiled and walked into the orphanage. Wait, Uchiha Sasuke hurriedly called out to Akihara Kagura and asked in a deep voice, I have a question, where are my clansmen? I want to give them a home. Oh, Akihara Kagura glanced back at Uchiha Sasuke and waved his hand, then go find them yourself. Remember, request them kindly, don't use your power to threaten my former subordinates. Those Uchiha didn't want to leave this world. Akihara Kagura wouldn't force them. After all, when they followed Shisui, they followed Akihara Kagura. After Shisui's soul was summoned by the Sage of Six Paths, these Uchiha, fearing Akihara Kagura's power, wanted to stay here. Orochimaru, following Akihara Kagura, asked a question he was very interested in. By the way, how did Kagura-kun break the Chibaku Tensei? Chibaku Tensei is indeed the ultimate sealing technique. When Akihara Kagura mentioned this, he couldn't help but furrow his brows, seemingly still fearful of his past recklessness. Perhaps I was a bit too reckless. That wooden clone of mine, in its carelessness, didn't break free from the Amenamenaka. Oh well, congrats on defeating my wooden clone. A wooden clone? Orochimaru's smile suddenly stiffened. Even Uchiha Sasuke's pupils flashed with shock. The one who had beaten them all and even forced the Sage of Six Paths to expend the Pure Land's chakra to cast Chibaku Tensei to seal Akihara Kagura turned out to be just a wooden clone. Isn't this too terrifying? Such godlike power, and it was just a mere wooden clone, yet this cautious action is claimed to be reckless. In the ninja world, are there any cautious people left? There was no other way. Akihara Kagura smiled and took the initiative to speak. After all, I wasn't alone. My real body never entered Lady Kaguya's Amenamenaka to avoid my subordinates being persecuted by the ninja world if we lost the war. I didn't expect that the wooden clone sent in couldn't break free from the Sage of Six Paths Chibaku Tensei. Kaguya Otsutsuki's brows slightly furrowed, because no one was more frightened than she was. Even though Kaguya Otsutsuki and Akihara Kagura were both sealed by Chibaku Tensei, Kaguya Otsutsuki felt a bit relieved. At least she didn't have to worry about Akihara Kagura taking her chakra, nor about Akihara Kagura's crisis. In the end, Kaguya Otsutsuki saw the same sealed Akihara Kagura slowly turn into wood, and at that moment she was completely engulfed by fear. She and a terrifying enemy were imprisoned together. But only she was imprisoned. That terrifying enemy was merely playing a trick. The disobedient son of the Sage of Six Paths, who expended all his chakra to seal, was just a wooden clone. This implies the crisis in the ninja world has never ended. But at the height of Kaguya's fear, a black giant sword suddenly split open the planet that sealed her, freeing her from the darkness. Kaguya Otsutsuki originally thought that in her most vulnerable moment, Akihara Kagura wanted to absorb her chakra, but Akihara Kagura didn't mention absorbing chakra. Instead, he casually asked if she wanted to see different landscapes in other worlds. At that moment, Kaguya Otsutsuki seemed to see light. My carefully prepared plot, and no one saw through it. Akihara Kagura thought of his arrangement and sighed with a shake of his head. When I fought in the Amenominaka, I specifically told Black Zetsu a story about a lion and a rabbit racing. Unfortunately, Black Zetsu didn't grasp the essence. No one could have imagined such a thing, Black Zetsu, still hiding in Kaguya Otsutsuki's sleeve, thought. Yes, who could have imagined it? Akihara Kagura told a story about a lion and a rabbit racing, making Black Zetsu think of the well-known Ninja World story about a tortoise and a rabbit racing. But who knew Akihara Kagura sent a wooden clone to fight? A terrifying enemy who defeated the Sage of Six Paths, Kaguya Otsutsuki, and the strongest ninjas in the ninja world, forcing the Sage of Six Paths to expend a millennium's worth of chakra, was just a wooden clone with less than 50% strength. Such a thing! How could anyone imagine? Akihara Kagura met Yakashi Kabuto and Yakashi Nan and proactively mentioned his intention to go to the next world. However, Yakashi Nan was too busy taking care of the orphans in the ninja world to follow him to another world. Yakashi Kabuto also chose to stay in Konoha to manage the Konoha orphanage with his foster mother. He handed over the tools left by the Sage of Six Paths to Akihara Kagura, always remembering what Akihara Kagura told him to protect Dean Yakashi Nan. Where to next? Uchiha Sasuke dared not leave Akihara Kagura's side, afraid that if he missed a moment, someone might offend Akihara Kagura and bring trouble to the ninja world. How about ramen? Akihara Kagura stroked his chin. Ikaraku Ramen. 3 familiar figures were having lunch here. Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto were eating happily, with Hade Kakashi sitting beside them, seriously reading a small book with a yellow cover. The classics of the Ika Ika series are still so wonderful. Hade Kakashi was so engrossed in his book that he almost forgot to eat. Seeing an exciting part, he couldn't help but praise it, asking, "By the way, Jiraiya-sama, have you considered writing a new book? Ha, maybe there will be something more exciting in the future." Jiraiya laughed and waved his hand, proactively sharing his next creation plan. "I plan to write a new book with Akihara Kagura as the protagonist." "Is the new book a healthy read?" A questioning voice appeared beside Jiraiya. "It should be healthy." Jiraiya instinctively found the voice familiar, his thoughts still immersed in his idea. Maybe the ending won't be accepted by many, but if 20,000 people read it, that would be great. Jiraiya stroked his chin and continued. "As for the content, it might be about a ninja who claims to be a tool but uses extreme and unique methods to try to save the ninja world." After Jiraiya finished speaking, he suddenly found the questioning voice overly familiar. He couldn't help but turn around, seeing Uzumaki Naruto's serious expression, and Hade Kakashi's even more serious look. "You! How could?" Hade Kakashi gripped his kunai tightly, looking incredulously at the man lifting the curtain of Ikaraku Ramen, his heart filled with mixed emotions. "Kakashi, we haven't seen each other for 2 or 3 days, right?" Akihara Kagura looked at the wary expression of Hade Kakashi and spoke with interest. "It seems that old friends are not very welcoming to me." Hade Kakashi's forehead twitched. This guy, just 2 or 3 days ago, was trying to treat the entire ninja world as his hunting ground. How could Kakashi now have the mood to treat him as a former friend? "Huh!" Jiraiya quickly waved his hand, signaling Uzumaki Naruto and Hade Kakashi to relax, and spoke up. "It seems I've written a non-fiction novel." After saying this, Jiraiya even winked at Akihara Kagura. "Hey, you, can I write some other content in it? Wouldn't slandering the second-generation leader of Root in the style of the Ika Ika series get it banned?" Akihara Kagura glanced at Uchiha Sasuke, who was standing outside the door, and spoke. "Third leader of Root, although you tried to kill the second leader of Root to take over, you would probably ban a book that slanders the former leader, right?" Uchiha Sasuke took a deep breath. This matter, why should he care about it? He didn't want to get involved at all. If not for the concern that Akihara Kagura might cause a big mess, Uchiha Sasuke just wanted to find a quiet place to think about what had happened and then go search for his scattered clan members, asking them to come home. Where to next? Jiraiya proactively ordered a bowl of ramen for his student, probably to see the first leader. Ikehara Kagura asked for a pair of chopsticks and casually reassured the owner of Ikaraku Ramen, Tuchai, and his daughter Ayame. Tuchai, I'm an old customer after all. Tuchai tried hard to open his eyes. Who exactly are you? Ayame looked curiously at Ikehara Kagura, seeming a bit puzzled about his identity. Why do people in the ninja world say you're a demon of destruction, and people in the village are also terrified when they mention you? More soup, please. Ikehara Kagura instructed Tuchai to add more soup and then asked curiously, Ayame, are there still people in the village cursing me? Absolutely not, Hate Kakashi immediately answered for Ayame. All right. Ikehara Kagura picked up the chopsticks and slowly said, if I must define my identity, I'd say I most enjoy being the leader of Root. It's that position where the Hokage would issue forceful orders to be executed, and the leader of Root would persuade the Hokage they would regret it, but still had to carry out the orders and send ninjas to wipe out entire families. I used to be the leader of Root. You don't slander the Hokage. Hate Kakashi rubbed his forehead, feeling that these slanderous words sounded familiar. Besides, you didn't follow the Hokage orders that much, did you? Don't slander Root either. Uchiha Sasuke quickly interrupted Ikehara Kagura, speaking in a deep voice. Now I am the leader of Root, and even when you were in charge, Root never wiped out entire families. No, Ayame spoke cautiously after they finished. I remember. 10 years ago you mentioned this, wasn't it the Anbu who did that? Ha 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 ha. Jiraiya laughed heartily, slapping the table uncontrollably. By the way, Naruto. Ikehara Kagura tapped his fingers, knocking on Uzumaki Naruto beside him. Considering your ungratefulness, I will revoke your hero title. Sorry. Uzumaki Naruto came to his senses, with an excited look flashing across his face, not minding at all about losing his hero title. So, Kagura isn't the enemy. If you're apologizing, you should do something to show it. Ikehara Kagura interrupted Naruto, his voice suddenly turning cold. I remember during the Chunin exam 4 years ago, the head of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hayashi, disobeyed my orders. You should be willing to stand up for me, right? I'll handle it for Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke immediately stood up. As Uzumaki Naruto's good friend, Uchiha Sasuke had to help solve this problem at this moment. However, Uchiha Sasuke had barely spoken to anyone from the Hyuga clan, not even during the Konoha 12 gathering. Probably. He could only use force to resolve it. Of course, he wouldn't kill anyone. Sasuke still remembered Ikehara Kagura's suggestion about abolishing the main and branch family system of the Hyuga clan. I'm done eating. After finishing the ramen, Ikehara Kagura placed his chopsticks on the table and looked at the few people gathered around him. Well then, everyone, goodbye. In the Konoha Forbidden Jutsu room, 2 figures were discussing issues inside. One was Tabarama and the other was Hashirama. These 2 Hokage had been resurrected by a strange twist of fate during the war, and after the war ended they hadn't died again, so naturally they stayed in Konoha. At this moment, the brothers were still arguing about Uchiha Madara's life and death. Tabarama was still trying to persuade his elder brother, Hashirama, Big brother, if you let me use the Edo Tensei, we can confirm whether Madara is truly dead. Innocent people will be sacrificed, right? Hashirama furrowed his brow. We just need a prisoner. Tabarama, always indifferent to such concerns, spoke in a deep voice. As long as we confirm that Uchiha Madara is dead, the ninja world will no longer have any threats. That's convenient. A voice interrupted Tabarama and Hashirama. A familiar figure sat on the table in the Konoha Forbidden Techniques room, chuckling. Uchiha Madara isn't dead. The greatest threat to the ninja world still remains. Ikehara Kagura. Hashirama's face flashed with shock. Tabarama's expression was even more astonished. He had seen Ikehara Kagura being sealed with his own eyes. Quickly, an explosive tag appeared in his hand. Clang, clang! A shuriken pinned the explosive tag to the wall. Kagura has never been an enemy. Uchiha Sasuke quickly stopped Tabarama's aggressive actions, rubbing his forehead with a bit of frustration, wondering how many times he would have to explain today. No, this time, it's quite inconvenient. Ikehara Kagura shook his head and sighed softly. The second thing I came to Konoha to do is to reclaim 2 people who should never have been revived. Ikehara Kagura opened his palm, releasing a familiar figure. Coincidentally, your old friend misses you very much, First Hokage. Hashirama! Uchiha Madara stood before Hashirama, the first Hokage, grinning with a mad smile. Come with this guy and witness a larger world. This place is too small, not enough for both of us to mess around. After Ikehara Kagura rescued Kaguya Otsutsuki, he had Kaguya extract Uchiha Madara's body. However, Madara, as the 10 Tails Jinchuriki, had lost the chakra of the 10 Tails and was on the verge of death. Fortunately, someone saved him. Akihara Kagura casually rescued Uchiha Madara. This man, with his extraordinary talent and a strong heart, would almost certainly become a top force in any world, regardless of the era. After all, Uchiha Madara was the only one to break the internal chakra limit, surpassing the reincarnations of Indra's chakra from all previous generations. His willpower and mental strength even surpassed Uchiha Sasuke, given more opportunities. Uchiha Madara might even surpass Kaguya Otsutsuki. Uchiha Madara is an extremely useful tool, and Akihara Kagura, in his effort to collect the tools of this world, would naturally not miss out on Uchiha Madara. However, Uchiha Madara made one condition, hoping Hashirama would accompany him to another future world to become stronger. The path of the strong can indeed be lonely, but having an old friend and rival like Hashirama wasn't bad either. As for Tobirama, this naturally cunning second Hokage was just an additional gain. Akihara Kagura was very interested in the mind of this second Hokage, who developed forbidden techniques. Regardless of what the future world would be like, the combination of forbidden techniques, science, and machinery from Tobirama, Orochimaru, and Sasori would surely be very helpful. Welcome to both of you. Akihara Kagura looked at the delighted Hashirama and the disgruntled Tobirama. If you have no one to say goodbye to, please gather at the Hokage Rock. Uchiha Sasuke watched all of this in silence. All right, Sasuke. Akihara Kagura tossed a bunch of Six Paths tools on the ground, imbuing them with Six Paths chakra marked by a curse seal, and spoke softly. Help me with this. Give these to Tenten. With this, our debts from the past are settled. I've done all I could. The fate of this world is now entirely in your hands. From this moment on, Akihara Kagura's figure vanished, leaving only a single statement. I have no lingering ties with this world anymore. Uchiha Sasuke watched Akihara Kagura's figure disappear, furrowing his brows slightly. He looked at the row of Six Paths tools on the ground, still somewhat puzzled. These things. He didn't have any sealing scrolls on hand, and it seemed impossible to carry them alone. Sasuke had to find help, bringing Hadate Kakashi and Uzumaki Naruto over to move the items. He didn't hide Akihara Kagura's instructions and directly told Kakashi about it. Compared to Uchiha Sasuke, Hadate Kakashi knew a bit more. After all, during the Chunin exams 4 years ago, Kakashi saw Akihara Kagura modify his own rules and personally save Tenten's life when she was in mortal danger. Unfortunately, Tenten still knew nothing about it. Why would someone send these things to me? Tenten flipped through the Six Paths tools, feeling a bit confused. Why would someone suddenly give me these things? It's probably a reward for kindness. Hadate Kakashi looked at the row of Six Paths tools, sighing in his heart. Perhaps it's because you are the hero who saved this world. I don't quite understand. Tenten pouted and shook her head, feeling a bit melancholic. Every day, Tenten never cared about whom she helped, because she always did whatever she could and never thought those things were of any great importance. Inside the Hokage building, a group of cages gathered here. 3 days had passed since the war. However, the cages of these great ninja villages were still here holding a meeting. They mutually agreed that they absolutely could not let their guard down and even needed to double the vigilance of each village. Be extra careful. The third Tsuchike Janoki, looking somewhat worried, spoke up. In the future, identity checks must be stricter to prevent anyone from infiltrating like Akihara Kagura did. Indeed. The fourth Reikage nodded, saying in a deep voice, should we abolish the orphanages of the major ninja villages? This could also prevent enemies from outside the world from infiltrating the ninja world by pretending to be adopted by orphanages. This. The fifth Hokage, Tsunade, hesitated. No matter how you look at it, this method of infiltration did pose a significant threat. But if the orphanages were abolished, what would happen to the true orphans in the ninja world? Should we disregard the real orphans to prevent enemies from infiltrating through orphanages? The ordinary ninjas of the ninja world don't have the insight to discern whether an orphan is just a regular child or an outsider. Don't worry. A familiar voice appeared in the meeting room. A familiar figure sat on the beam, speaking with interest. You don't need to worry. If there are any more enemies from outside the world, they probably won't be as merciful as I am. They should directly invade and kill everyone here. How? This voice sounds familiar. The 5 cages, muttering to each other, simultaneously looked up, glancing at the familiar figure sitting on the beam of the meeting room. Akihara Kagura! Akihara Kagura! A long-lost fear swept over them. The last time they were this scared was at the 5-cage summit in Aimgakure. Why did Akihara Kagura appear here at this time? Akihara Kagura! Tsunade's hand clenched into a fist, because she had personally seen Akihara Kagura being sealed. When did this guy unseal himself, and why did he appear at the 5-cage summit at this time? The last time this guy appeared at the 5-Cage Summit, he made his puppet Hands, the salamander, the commander-in-chief of the allied ninja forces. Tsunade worried about what kind of plot Akihara Kagura might have this time. Don't move! The terrifying chakra emanating from Akihara Kagura instantly forced everyone to stop in their tracks. If you have any questions, ask Sasuke or Jiraiya-sensei later. Akihara Kagura leisurely floated down from the beam and spoke actively. I didn't intend to appear before you, but hearing this, I felt I should say a few more words to you, lest you keep fixating on orphanages. Let me tell you a truth. Actually, I was never an orphanage child. The 5 cages were scared out of their wits, not daring to speak or move. Even, they felt as if they had fallen into a great conspiracy again. You came here. Tsunade looked up at Akihara Kagura, speaking in a deep voice. What exactly is your purpose? I just wanted to see you all again. After all, we have been dealing with each other for so long. Akihara Kagura looked at the 5 cages, whose faces were either ashen or pale, with what seemed like a smile on his lips. Until we meet again, it's been a pleasure seeing you all. I hope you are also pleased to see me. Goodbye. After saying this, Akihara Kagura disappeared without a trace in front of everyone. On the Hawkage Rock, Kaguya Otsutsuki stood on the Hawkage Rock, overlooking the tiny village. Karin, Uchiha Madara, Hashirama, Tabarama, Sasori of the Red Sand, and White Zetsu Oi stood beside her, also watching this village with a long history in the ninja world, a place where many had spent their entire lives striving. Perhaps in the future they might never have the chance to return. Before gathering, Orochimaru specially went to see his student Mitarashi Enko, checking the cursed seal on her, fearing that he might die in another world in the future. I thought Lady Kaguya would want to see her son one last time. Akihara Kagura appeared beside them with Orochimaru, his gaze falling on Kaguya. Hagoromo has long lost his human side. Kaguya Otsutsuki shook her head, not wanting to see her son, only looking back at Akihara Kagura beside her. I don't want to see him anymore. Take me away from this world. Then let's go. Standing on the Hawkage Rock, Akihara Kagura took one last look at the village where he had lived for over 10 years. I actually had a happy life in this world. I hope the next world will be happy to see us.